wild. I'm doing both. I'm recruiting. Yes. We're doing it. So yeah, come on over. I've got both up right now. See their revision to work. Yay, Linz. Evil Commie Madeline tries to forcefully transition a group of people, yes, into Twitch. Ho ha ha. First time chat, Sasha Level. Hi. Hegel's Big Dialecticals. Here. Yes. Simmer Jamie. Everybody's here. Oh my god, the queer bitch. Yay. So fun. I really do. I love the Twitch community. It's great. Am I married? No, I don't believe in marriage. Magneto Marxism. Crab time. Hi everybody. First time chats. Hello. Crab time in the chat. Thank you, Ghost Pain, for sharing that. The link. Yes. Come join from TikTok. Hi, everybody. Hello. Yay. Abolish marriage. And you can ask questions there, and we all talk about them, and people are nice, and we deal with fewer, oh, thank you, yay. You can't leave comments on Twitch for some reason. I don't know what's up with that. I don't know why. I'm not sure why. You're from TikTok. Hi, Liv. First time. Yay. Come join us. Wait, what's wrong with marriage? I don't actually think there's anything wrong with marriage, but it's not for me. It's not my thing. I don't like that. You talk about Epstein files, you're hearing a lot of misinformation. Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation going around about the Epstein files. Oh, my hydrates. I have to go get water. I'm going to fork screensaver you guys really fast while I go get water, but I'm going to bring the phone with me. Okay, hi, I'm back. I'm doing a hydrate. How many people are in the Twitch stream now? Communist fascist Madeline Benelson says that the Epstein files were not that bad. Yeah. Literally. Oh no. Pop out. And the cat's yelling at me now. 100. Okay, wait, how many people are in the Twitch stream? Did we get a number? Sorry. 180. We can do better. I recruited you. Yay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fuck, kill Charles Danny Aspen. Definitely kill Charles, because he's dangerous. He's the one that did the terrorist attack on the I'm sorry, he's the one who was wanted in conjunction with a terrorist attack on a North Korean embassy. Okay, Hijabi Hive has 2 news article recommendations for today. Oh, okay. I think these are both good. I hope we get to both of them, actually. That would be good. Talk about the files. Okay, we'll talk about the files for a few seconds. Here. Hydrating. Okay. So, Mary, me and husband are getting married. And then she said I couldn't actually be blonde because my roots grow in dark. And then it's like, oh, baby, that's not... As you get older when you're blonde, that's what happens. And then your hair gets lighter in the photo bleaching from the sun. Ground news as a resource. I'm never going to tell you that just pick a source and the source is going to be right about everything. You have to look about who the author is. You have to look at what's actually going on. Every news organization on the planet publishes retractions. You have to look at the relationship when you're sourcing between is this in this group's best interest to report it? Is it actually against their best interest to report it? And that should give you different credibility. You feel like I didn't drink enough water over the weekend? You're right. I did not drink any water over the weekend. These came from the bins. Okay, the Epstein files. Yeah, basically, the Epstein files, like there's plenty of real bad stuff in there, but people are just doing like weird clickbait stuff because it makes interesting videos, and that's strange. So some of the stuff is like, oh, this was found like not to be credible. This was just like a kooky person wanting to be involved in the case and talking to the FBI, and the FBI was like, this is incredible. Yay, caught me live. Yay. Yes, I do upload them. So my video on demands are all available on Twitch, and also I export them to YouTube now. So everything's on YouTube too. Otto, guy went to another country, broke the law, got sentenced to prison, had a medical emergency. Nobody could figure out what it was. North Korea released him 14 years early from his sentence, along with his medical records, to the United States as an act of kindness, to be like, we can't treat him, maybe you guys can. The United States doctors couldn't figure it out. Donald Trump got on the news and was like, he was abused, he was tortured, his teeth were disfigured. His medical doctors in the United States got on the news and were like, we saw no evidence of that. We don't know why Donald Trump said that, basically. Like, there's no evidence of any of that. The only way we're going to know what happened to him is after he dies, if we do an autopsy. He died, and then the doctors were like, can we do an autopsy? And his family was like, no, probably for religious reasons. And that was it. So we'll never know what happened to him. That's it. But I'm thinking that if you tortured somebody from another country, you wouldn't voluntarily choose to send them back 14 years ahead of their prison sentence with all of their medical documentation and no evidence of any torture occurring on their body. That makes no sense. Yes, North Korea defender. Gabby, yes, I'm not a fucking monster or an idiot. Very obviously, I defend North Korea. Anybody would. Anybody would and should. Yes. Hey, first Twitch. Yay, tomatoes are spicy. Hi, everybody. My Karl Marx, I drew him. That's my art. Doesn't he look great? I know his mustache isn't actually black, but it just represented a little better, you know? Yeah, so come on over to Twitch if you want to argue. How many people do we have over here on Twitch now? White background with a cloud. Oh. 228. Okay, that's pretty good. All right. We're going to start over on Twitch. We're going to leave you guys. So come over to Twitch if you want to join us. It is fun. It's nice. Gabby, come over to Twitch. Learn something. Get educated, Gabby. What are you afraid of? Are you afraid the tankies might get you? Might get you with all the facts? You don't like that. They don't like that. The anti-tanky crowd really hates facts. Okay, I'm hanging up here. All right. Bye. Hello. Welcome, Twitch. How is everybody today? How's everybody's weekend? Is the story of Megumi Yokota true? I'm actually not sure if her specific story is true, but it is true that North Korea did kidnap people from Japan to try to teach them Japanese. So you have to remember they had been colonized by Japan and viewed Japan as a massive adversary for very, very obvious reasons. And they did kidnap some random ladies from Japan to teach them Japanese. That is real. It's not an ideal thing that happened, but also getting brutally fucking colonized by Japan was not ideal either. Sometimes less than ideal things happen in the world. What actually is market socialism? It confuses you. So market socialism, I think, is a viable transition from capitalism to actually a fully centrally planned economy. But it's basically socialism, but you still allow some markets to work. So China has market socialism as their kind of transition, actually. Yeah, it's not... I don't think it's ideal. Why did they want to learn Japanese? So they can know what the enemy was saying about them. Which I think makes sense, right? Okay, I have to sneeze. Hold on. Why do people use tanky as an insult? Because they're politically illiterate. Oh my god, I have to sneeze. It's gonna happen, I swear. It's not happening. The cat's right in front of me. She's doing it. Ugh, okay, it's gone. Okay, I don't know. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Looking at the light. This is not doing anything for me. Ugh. I give up. I give up. Pineapple. Wait. I kind of don't have to sneeze. Was that psychological? What's going on? What's the truth with Russia and Ukraine? Just Ukraine in 2013, 2014, their country was basically stolen in a coup by a group of different people with different interests. Some of them were very, very Western aligned. The United States had been dumping like a lot of pro-USA propaganda into Ukraine starting in 2010. So some people were just like really into capitalism and wanted to align more with the EU and USA. Some people were literal fucking Nazis. Some were just like rich business dudes. And they all came together and basically did this like massive protest movement that became like a coup. What's going on with my bangs? Okay. And then The Nazis had disproportionate power because they were armed and very, very militant. They won the coup. The United States backed it and supported it the whole time. And then also, like, brought the Nazis to the United States and trained them in Virginia and then sent them back. And then they started doing a bunch of Nazi shit throughout Ukraine. Like, they tried to de-Russify or decommunize Ukraine, which a large percent of Ukraine is ethnically Russian. So this included tearing down statues to Red Army soldiers who had liberated Ukraine from the Holocaust and replacing them with statues of literal Nazis, like Stepan Bandera statues all over town, putting Stepan Bandera, who's a Nazi, his face on stamps, and then also, like, basically the more Nazi part of the protest movement got absorbed into the Ukrainian military. They started going around literally trying to do ethnic cleansing of predominantly Russian areas of Ukraine. And so those areas of Ukraine then asked to be let into Russia. And one was accepted in Crimea and the other wasn't. But Russia was like, we'll back your independence movement if you want to go independent. That was the Donbas region. So that's what's actually happening there. Okay, what should we talk about today? We've got Buenos Aires, Iran, North Korea, Fort Bragg. She's so beautiful. She's a beautiful girl. Why is Russia aiming to seize Odessa? Okay, I actually don't think that Russia's goal in any of this was territory acquisition, and the reason is that if it had been their goal, they could have just let the Donbas region in. But I think now that they're in negotiation phases, my personal belief, this is my personal analysis, okay? I can't give you a factual answer on this. I can only give you my personal opinion. So my personal opinion is that the United States is really pushing for the areas of Ukraine that are pro-Russia to just become a part of Russia so we don't have to deal with them. Because our goal in all of this, starting in 2010 when we started aggressively dumping money into this, was to open up Ukraine for Western business. But because Ukraine had been so closely aligned with Russia, and they were, you might not know that, especially if you're a younger person or whatever, but Ukraine loved Russia up until around 2013. Our goal was to bring them away from Russia and open them up for Western business. As long as there were areas of Ukraine that are still aligned with Russia, ethnically Russian, or support Russia, or are like, hey, these Nazis taking over Ukraine are bad, they are going to push back against Westernization and opening Ukraine up for Western business deals. So my belief is that the United States wants Russia to take every part of Ukraine that's pro-Russian, because then that makes Ukraine easier for us to deal with. Because the only parts of Ukraine left are fine with us, support us, and hate Russia. Does that make sense? So I think that's a United States thing. Stretching. I can't stretch too much in the shirt. My boobs will fall out. Ugh, okay. I don't know if that's clear to you guys. Alexander Dugin? No, I don't. I'm not a Duginist. No. We're all getting free tanks. Okay. So everybody today wants to talk about Iran, and we've got an article here. So if we have extra time, we'll do the other things on the poll in order, which were North Korea and Buenos Aires. Okay. Free tanks for all the tankies. Okay, so the Iran link is New York Times. You can't open it. I can open it and show you guys. I don't know if this is helpful or not. And I can... I don't know if the other thing will work, though. You know? If the, Is it archive.io? You're a Nuki? I'm actually a Nuki, too. Maybe we should start calling ourselves Nukis. I like that. Tanky. No, I'm a Nuki. Okay, let me see if archive.ph does this. I don't know what IO is. I just made that up. Yay, let's see if it works. I'm doing archive right now to see if it works on the New York Times. It does. It does work. Yay. Okay, let me type this for you guys. I think this is it. Nuki goes hard. First time chat. Yes. That's it. We're Nukis now. That's going to scare them even more. I don't know. I feel like if you make jokes about things, they get less scared. I don't understand what... I do not understand the liberal hysteria about communism. I just don't get it. And obviously they're very, very, very propagandized, and that's the actual answer, right? But it's like... Why are you so mad at the people who want to give you free houses and healthcare and education? Like, I don't fucking understand. It's like, what? And then they do this whole talk in circles about Russia and Iran, and you're like, I mean, they're literally fighting against us. Like, we don't even love them. We're just saying it's good that they're stopping us. Like, what are you talking about? Okay. Yeah, why are they so mad? And we're trying to help you. Like, we're trying to help you. Let us help you. Yeah, they're just really defensive because they're getting proven wrong and amoral, I think. But I will say, over the weekend, I did see the liberal backlash against Hassan Piker saying that he would not vote for Gavin Newsom was insane. It's like, girl, we are 2 years out from the next election. You got 2 years. Every single leftist is telling you we're not going to vote for Gavin Newsom. We're not. Californian leftists. I know what it's like to live under Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom was my mayor in San Francisco. I don't think you guys, I mean, he was my mayor when I lived in San Francisco. And you know what? He was a good mayor. He was a fucking good mayor. You know why? Because San Francisco was very fucking progressive. So this guy is a good politician. He's a chameleon. What he wants changes based on his voter base, his constituency. So in San Francisco, that was great. He was illegally marrying gay people on the steps of City Hall. He was writing critical mass with the bike punks. Like, he was a good mayor in San Francisco. But the thing about this man is that you do not trust that fugly bitch. Like, he is not reliable. He will go wherever the most popular opinion is. So if the most popular opinion is do a fucking genocide in Israel, he's like, bet, I'm there. Let's go, babes. And he's getting funded by all these fucking rich people now. Like, the man is a politician. So if doing the right thing is not the most popular thing, Gavin Newsom will never in his fucking life do the right thing. He will never. And guess what? ICE is popular with Americans. Right? Immigration control is popular with Americans. So he's going to be fucking about it. That is not a man with a good moral compass. Like, you do not trust him. He is fucking Patrick Bateman. Like, he is a psychopath. He just wants to be liked. And, like, he is not trustworthy as a result of this. We do not like Gavin in California. All his funding is from, like, the richest people in California. Like, he is not a good dude. It's wild. And they think that we as Californians are going to vote for this guy for president? No, fuck no. 30,000 more people became homeless in California under his watch. And what did he do? He fucking did a photo shoot destroying their tents. Like, no. Next. Okay, wait. Searching my name on TikTok is filled with people disproving my points on North Korea and saying you don't understand anything. Given their sources might be dubious, what do you think of these response videos to you? I'm going to tell you, I have not seen them. But they're wrong. Like, I can just tell you they're wrong. They're ding dong. If it's Danny, I'm going to show you something really fast. Before we get into this, I'm just going to show you. I don't know who numerous people are. If you tell me who the numerous people are, I will. This is the resource document I tell you to use to learn about North Korea. These are the foremost experts in the world on North Korea. Okay. We've got professors of history from Rutgers University with an emphasis on contemporary Korean history. We have award-winning investigative journalists. We have the professor of international history at the London School of Economics. We have the former chair of the history department at the University of Chicago. Like, these, I'm not telling you anything fringe, okay? So nothing I'm telling you is debated. It's all very, very true and easy to prove. And one of these people don't even agree with each other. When I tell you to look at sources, I tell you to look at people with varying ideas and see what they have in common. And, like, there's a guy in here who I personally do not fucking like. Like, if I saw this guy in an alley, a dark alley at night, I would beat the shit out of him. I think he's really fucking disrespectful to Korean culture. I think he's a creepy white guy boomer with an Asian wife. You know that thing. I think he's a fucking weirdo. His name is Bruce Cummings. He was the former chair of the history department at University of Chicago. Very well-respected school. I think you should read his work. I think he should be the most right-wing your opinions ever get about North Korea. Most modern-day liberals would have a fucking panic attack and call him a tanky because that's how propagandized they are about North Korea. All right? And this guy is pretty right-wing. He's just not an idiot about North Korea, right? Bruce Cummings, yes. You should read him. I think you should definitely read him. The fact that anybody, especially liberals, is more right-wing than Bruce Cummings is on North Korea is insane. Like, that's insane. These people really do not fucking understand this topic at all. Going to DTLA really shows you how bad the homeless problem is. First time chat? Yes. Like, I live in the same city as Skid Row. Like, come on, that guy is not going to be my president. Fuck no. Anyway, so these people who are telling you that anything I've said about North Korea is controversial, there's one of two things going on, okay? Number one, they're just heavily propagandized buffoons who are making clickbait for money because zany North Korea videos pay well. They pay well. Look at how many views and likes they get. I make a video talking about the real history of North Korea. It gets 2,000 likes. They make a video telling you, I don't know, Kim Jong-un shoots dolphins in the face with a spear gun he made himself, that he personally handcrafted in Mordor or whatever the fuck, and it gets like 200,000 likes. These videos pay their bills. They make money making this content. And so they're threatened by it, right? They're like, no, it's true. Okay, so that's one possibility. The other possibility is that they are literally nefarious bad actors who are there specifically to make you hate North Korea. And that might sound like a stretch until you look at how extensive our fucking anti-North Korean propaganda networks are, right? So one of the people that I've done as a case study in this is Danny North Korea, who just, first of all, anybody trusting somebody using the fucking eyes and lips filter on TikTok needs to have their brain studied for science. Like, how you look at that and you're like, this looks trustworthy, fucking blows my mind. Like, we are cooked as a generation. Like, that is insane to me. But I took a look at this person's source sheet. Anything in red is literally a source that is funded by the U.S. government. And I'm going to show you this, okay? Anything in red is funded by the U.S. government. Funded by the U.S. government. The U.S. government who is at war with North Korea. That is like asking Israel their opinions on Palestine. Almost their entire, this is their resource document they tell you to use to learn more. Everything red funded by North Korea. Everything blue has been debunked by academics who are like, this is not fucking trustworthy on this subject. There's a few of those in there. Anything orange is funded by South Korea. In South Korea, it is illegal to say anything positive about the North, and they have heavy internet censorship about North Korea there as well. They are just as propagandized as the U.S., and that is because they are a vassal state of the United States. Like, their military can't even operate without the United States military. They operate under us. Like, we are in control of South Korea. And Danny will even be like, I don't know anything about South Korea. Bitch, if you don't know anything about South Korea, you don't know anything about North Korea. These two topics cannot be separated. This is one issue. So, you know, these people are either... They're either evil people who are doing this for clickbait to make money and they don't care about what the truth is. They just want a check from TikTok for telling you weird, zany stories about North Korea. Or they are evil people who know what they are doing. And I'm not sure which is worse, honestly. I'm really not. But they're wrong. And if you ever see them say anything and you're like, why did they say this? Yeah, Virgo, please don't call Bruce a tanky. That's so disrespectful to me. A tanky. Exactly. So if you ever see anything and you're like, well, they said this, what's up with this? You can always ask me and I will show you the truth about that. I will show you the sources. I will show you what they're saying. I'll show you why they're saying this weird shit. Yeah, it's just very, very weird. Also, Aspen said I was lying about being a natural blonde, which is really funny because I showed you guys my baby pictures yesterday. My childhood pictures you guys saw on the live, which is really, and I'm like, these people are just so desperate and they have to say shit like that I'm not a natural blonde. It's like, who fucking cares? But I am. But the reason why it's important is because they want to paint me as an insane person who lies about everything because they don't have the truth on their side. They don't have evidence on their side. All they have on their side is that they're good at content creation in a way I am not. I'm like, let's talk about the subject for 2 hours. They're like, let's make a fucking 3-minute video with a dancing Cartman meme over the top and clip chimp everything from hell to high heaven, right? That's what they're good at. And the only thing they have is character assassination at that point, right? Oh, she actually made a video about how I'm in love with her. That's so funny. Yeah, I did a thing where I was rage baiting people to come to TikTok, and I was like saying all the things that people say about me that aren't true, and I said I was in love with her, and she apparently does not understand a joke. It is a joke. Yeah, she said I'm not a natural blonde inside of Radio Free Asia. And I, like, do I need to get the baby pictures again? Like, I'll show them. They're really cute. But yes, I am a blonde. Did a green screen? It's so fucking funny. And Radio Free Asia. So, okay, so I'm showing you guys this, and when I tell you, okay, Aspen citing Radio Free Asia, if you don't know what that means, this is Radio Free Asia. I'm going to show you guys, for anybody who doesn't know, just so you know. Radio Free Asia was created by the CIA. This is a CIA.gov website. They were created by the CIA in 1951 to spread misinformation about communists in Asia. Okay? Today, it is part of something called the U.S. Agency for Global Media. This is it. Here we go. An official website of the U.S. government. All right? U.S. Agency for Global Media. This is our propaganda network that the United States runs, that most Americans don't even know fucking exists. This is it. RFA. Let's see if they fixed their broken link. They had a broken link the other day. It's a WordPress website and their link is broken. I don't know why that's so funny to me. RFA is Radio Free Asia, though. It just broke. It didn't break before. I'm not sure why that happened. But here's their actual website. You can see rfa.org. That's it. Here it is. They, to this day, are still spreading misinformation and propaganda about communism in Asia. And they are funded 100% by Congress. Here is a funding allocation bill from congressional records for how Radio Free Asia is funded. You can also see in the original declassified document why they find the value in Radio Free Asia and what they do with it. And, you know, it also, it also is part of a bigger network. This is just one thing. But Radio Free Asia is the most obvious one. If somebody you are talking to about North Korea does not know that you don't use Radio Free Asia as a source, that you should never listen to them about anything. Everybody knows you don't use Radio Free Asia as a source. We even successfully got Danny North Korea to stop using Radio Free Asia for a source because we bullied the shit out of her because it's like, dude, that is the CIA. Like, that one, they don't even try to hide it. That's just the CIA being like, yay, yeah, we're Radio Free Asia, we love CIA. Like, come on, guys. It's fucking crazy. So the Charles, North Korea, Spain stuff, oh yeah, I can do that too. These people are insane. So I'm telling you, these people are crazy. They are literally cuckoo bananas. Okay, so I'll show you Charles, North Korea. So Charles, North Korea is part of something called Liberty in North Korea, Link. Let me show you this. This is the organization that Charles, North Korea is a part of, okay? And this is Charles. I might have blocked him. Yeah, I blocked him. I was like, fuck this guy. Hell no. Okay, he's got hundreds of thousands of followers. And he's got a bunch on YouTube too, okay? So this guy, Charles Ryu is his name. He is wanted in Spain. I'm translating the page just so you guys know. In conjunction with a terrorist attack. Chol Ryu, whose identity has recently been discovered, is believed to be another one of the mercenaries recruited by Hong Kong. And they talk about him here. Let's see. Okay, here we go. On social media, he goes by the name Charles Ryu, according to sources close to the investigation. What is he wanted with? A terrorist attack where they stormed a North Korean embassy and were there for more than 4 hours, torturing and detaining staff until they fled. Okay? This is these fucking psychos. All right? Thank you, anonymous gifters. These people are insane. I read somewhere the empire killed 20% of Koreans in the war. Impossible for me to believe anything from the goals to do that. You are correct. Socialist doc, that is correct. I will show you that as well. I know. I've been doing it every day for 6 years. I know. It's crazy. This is him, though. This is that guy that I just showed you with the 400,000 fucking followers. Like, this is what he's wanted in conjunction with. I mean, these people are out of their fucking minds, and they're a little network. They're a little network where they all talk to each other. They all deal with each other. And that group he's a part of, Liberty in North Korea, is a partner of National Endowment for Democracy, which is created by the CIA as well. That is a conduit for the CIA, according to its own founders, Alan Weinstein. You can read this Washington Post article about it, when it was funded, and it is still, yes, to this day, funded directly by Congress. They even did a preliminary injunction during the government shutdown to make sure National Endowment for Democracy continued to be funded. Yeah, so there's feedback. Is there a knocking noise? Can everybody hear it? Is it the rain? Is it the rain? Is the rain that loud in the microphone? Do I block anyone who denounces my views? No, I actually preemptively block them because I don't want to see their bullshit. And then they find me later, which is funny. Like, literally when I first joined the app, like before I even had a big following, I would find people like this and I'd be like, ew, what the fuck? I don't want to see this, and block them. And then later, when I would get popular, they'd find me despite the block and start making weird clickbait content about me. I don't fucking know. I love Diana, North Korea. I think Diana, North Korea is a great resource if you guys want to learn. It's the rain. I'm so sorry. It's loud. Yeah. Diana, North Korea, I think is a great resource for you guys to learn from somebody who lived in North Korea. Yes. So, you know, you saw National Endowment for the Arts as a source in a book. Yeah, it's similar. It's as similar as a U.S. government program. Okay, wait, there was one more thing I was going to show you guys. Somebody asked about in the chat, and I was like, I can show you that. Oh, the 20%. Yeah, I'll show you that. Let's look for it. Oh, here we go. It was one up. No, where is it? I swear I had it on here. Oh, here we go. Okay. So we have multiple different evidence sources for the 20% claim here. And they're evidence sources with competing interests and narratives. And I think that's really important. So new evidence on North Korean war losses, but this is from 2001. Anybody who's not using this updated number, it's been around for 25 years. They're doing it on purpose. So a North Korean census report found in Russian archives revealed North Korea lost 20% of its population during the Korean War. And this is an article from the Irish Times that quotes, they spell it or do they write it? Okay, here, Curtis LeMay, who was the Air Force general in the United States who was in charge of the bombing campaign, said, we went over there and eventually burned down every town in North Korea. And he actually said, we killed 20% of the population. So the United States says it was 20% of the population. North Korea says it was 20% of the population. Russia says it was 20% of the population. These people all have competing interests. They all agree it was 20% of the population. And it is. It is. What's up with Titia Lux? I'm going to pull up Gaddafi's hot bodyguards. While you guys tell me what's going on with this person. What kind of troll are we dealing with? Virgo, you're not feeling well. You need to pick me up. You deserve this. This is for you. Look at them go. This is the girl boss future we want. Ireland mentioned. Always counted Ireland to be on the right side of history. That's all I'm saying. All right. It's a Star Wars troll. I don't know anything about Star Wars. One of my partners is really obsessed with Star Wars, so I know that. Okay. So anyway, these North Korea people are weird ghouls. Same 10 points. I don't know. I'm losing it. I'm losing patience lately. I'm passionate about educating people. I think it's important, but it does make me feel a little crazy because I'm like, the truth is so obvious. It's right there, and it doesn't matter because, you know, things that are happening, there's always some new fucking social media ghoul who makes their living off of these stupid North Korea's evil stories that finds me and wants to target me. Whatever. And then there's always new young people getting made who aren't familiar with the story and see it and need to be taught. Not so much with Ireland glazing. It is very, very, yes, yeah, I don't do monogamy now. Yeah, imagine dedicating your one and only life to supporting CIA's North Korea propaganda. But they're probably making a fuck ton of money off it. I mean, those stories pay well. There's a reason why they get picked up in mainstream media so much. Like, obviously, yes, it supports, the United States government's political agenda, and a lot of mainstream media sources are quite literally paid to do that. If you've never read Carl Bernstein's On the Media, I really recommend it. But yeah, they also, they're interesting. People like them. People want to believe them. And that's the craziest thing. Nobody wants to believe that North Korea is just like a normal place in a politically bad situation doing its best. And I will say, for all of the things I don't like about Bruce Cummings, that is something he believes. That is his belief. He's like, see, and he's always like, Korea's weird. Their culture's strange. They're really weird about their leaders. Like, and I'm just like, girl, fuck off. Like, I live in the United States, right? We carved our leaders' heads in a fucking mountain. And specifically that mountain to piss off native people. Like, we're for fucking ghouls, but whatever. But he, at the very least, is like, there is nothing irrational about North Korea. They are not insane people doing weird things. Like, it is very rational if you understand the history of what we did there, which is important. So, that is what it is. Okay. Any other questions before we get into today's actual topic, which is updates on Iran? You have a friend that likes all the other Marxist-Leninist places, just not North Korea. And it's just these people just don't know enough about North Korea, honestly. The North Korean response is vindicated more and more. I mean, if they nuked us, I'd get it. I'd be like, well, look what we did to them. Right? So my org supports the Land Back movement, but it's important to note that Land Back is not just one movement. Every single tribe has its own ideas of what Land Back looks like. So it's different everywhere. Right? How to access the document I shared, it's in my link tree. So you can find it in my link tree, and I have resource documents there about a lot of different topics. I need to make more. I haven't had a chance to. There's always the resistance. If I know the government is lying, they can't be lying that bad, right? Right? You're totally correct. And it's like, no, they're worse than you think. Whatever you think the government's lying, more than that, actually. It's very, very interesting. Okay, anything else before we get into the news? You just joined where we're talking about Hi Sir. Okay, today we're going to talk about Iran, but we haven't actually started yet. We're doing general Q&A. Why are there so many young people and teens in Iran who support Israel and want a regime change? Are they trying to be rebellious? Yeah, kind of, but it's really interesting. So we saw this in like 2021, 2022, 2023, somewhere in that range, on TikTok. There was actually a feminist Iranian movement on TikTok of women, young girls, teenagers, but also young women in Iran who wanted more women's liberation. And there was actually like a fight that happened on TikTok between those young people and their moms. And their moms were like, you don't know what you're asking for when you ask for increased westernization of fashion in Iran. Like, you don't understand what the West has done to Iran. Like, I'm old enough. I lived through a United States-backed dictator here in Iran. Like, you don't know what you're asking for. And there is a big generational divide. So women in Iran who are old enough to have lived under the American dictator are like, nothing is worse than an American dictator. This is us reclaiming our culture and reclaiming our identity after it was taken from us by the Americans. But younger people are like, I don't remember that. I didn't live through that. I just want to be able to wear whatever the fuck I want. And I think both of these positions make sense, right? Both of these positions for both of these people's experiences and histories make sense. So that's why you have younger people who are like, fuck the regime, fuck, the Ayatollah. And that's why you have older people who are like, no, we love the Ayatollah. He saved us from the American-backed dictator. Not that Ayatollah, but the previous Ayatollah. The Ayatollah system, I guess, or whatever. This is us reclaiming our culture. This is empowering to us. So there is a generational divide in Iran because of that, which is interesting. People hate their theocratic government, and they think Israel and the United States will save them, not realizing Israel's a theocratic government, first of all, and the United States can't save anybody, right? And we've also been propagandizing in Iran like we do. Iran was not progressive in the 70s. Iran was under a U.S. dictatorship that forced women to basically wear Western clothes against their will. So those pictures you see of women in like mini skirts in Iran, that's like, to me, when I look at those, I get the ick. I'm like, this is almost sexual assault vibes. Like, we forced those women to expose themselves because our Western-backed leadership there was trying to court American business interests and basically sell the country out for American business. And they made it illegal to wear traditional clothing there. It's very, very yucky. It's kind of like when France went around forcing women to remove their hijabs on the beach at gunpoint, right? And burqas at gunpoint. It's like, this is not progress. This is what liberalism tells you is progress, but it's not. 1953, that's the year of Mossadegh, right? Yeah, Iran elected, what happened, for those of you who don't know, is in the 1950s, Iran elected a prime minister that was a socialist, wanted to do some land reform, wanted to nationalize oil. His name was Mossadegh. And they had a king system and then a parliament and prime minister system, like a lot of countries. So, oh no, I haven't seen this. That's cool. Maybe we can watch this at the end of the stream.
Are there two Chinas?
This is great. This is going to be about how Chiang Kai-shek thought that he was in charge of all of China too. So basically what happened is he wanted to nationalize oil, and this was really bad for Europe and the United States. So European and American intelligence services teamed up together to overthrow him. They didn't assassinate him, but they overthrew him and expelled him. And they just gave the king a ton of power. They're like, you're in charge of everything now, and you're our guy. So that's the Shah system. So the guy that is on the news right now, who's the Shah in exile of Iran or whatever, he is descended from that, and basically the United States and Europe wants to do the same thing, and Israel. We want to do the same thing. We want to bring back the Shah system and have the Shah basically be a puppet leader under us, rather than having a different kind of leader in place. So we had then the Shah under the United States and Europe, tutelage or whatever, was a brutal dictator in Iran until the 1970s, the late 1970s, when the Iranian people rose up and overthrew him and expelled the Americans from their land. And that is when they brought in the Ayatollah, and they reverted back to a theocratic, hyper-cultural kind of leadership as a direct response from having their culture stripped from them by the Americans. Ghost Pain, Shaw ended up hating running the country so much under the U.S. thumb that he spent so much time in London. His older sister wrote him a letter chastising his behavior. Yeah. First time chat. Do you think a country can be communist and religious? I feel like communism is so philosophical, it would almost be ashamed to be a communist and hold on to religion instead of new philosophy. I think that what we've seen for communism is very welcoming to religion. You're very welcome to practice your religion. We find, like in Xinjiang, for example, in China, there are more mosques per capita than in the United States, certainly, for people practicing Islam. And I know for a lot of people who practice Islam in particular, they find that Islam and communism work very well together. They make sense. They play off of each other for them in their religion. So Marxism probably wouldn't have an explicitly religious society, but you would still always be allowed to practice your religion, and it could be an important part of your life. Cercito, if the Shah does come back, we will see another revolution, a couple decades, and even worse reactionary government than what Iran has now. Exactly. So that's why if the people of Iran want to have a worker revolution, which some of them do, some of them are like, this is maybe an opportunity for us to have a worker revolution and do actual socialism, you know. And Mossadegh was a socialist, but not like a commie, not like a Marxist-Leninist, but you know, there are Marxist-Leninists in Iran who want to have a worker revolution. That would be great. But if that's the case, supporting the United States and Israel just gave them 3 enemies to fight instead of 1. Those people now are going to have to fight the current Iranian government, the Israeli government, and the U.S. government. And that's horrible. That's not going to help them at all. I'm looking at you guys. Okay, so let's get into actual topics today. Let's end the little informal Q&A and get into it. So today we are talking about what's going on in Iran. We've done a little bit of a backstory for everybody already. So the news article we are going to be assessing today is from the New York Times, and it was shared by the chat. Hijabi Hive shared this, right? I believe. And the title is Iran holds exercises in Strait of Hormuz after Trump threatens military action. The day before nuclear talks were set to resume, Iran conducted live drills in the Strait of Hormuz, a strategic waterway for oil and gas shipments. And this story is from today, so we're up to date. Okay, so here it is. It's beautiful. Let's see if I can zoom in. Can I zoom in? No, I can't zoom in. Sorry, you're stuck with it like this. Iran held live military exercises on Monday in the Strait of Hormuz, a day before nuclear talks between the United States and Iran were set to resume, an apparent show of its power as President Trump threatens military action and calls for regime change if diplomacy fails. The drills, led by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy, were meant to address potential security and military threats, the state-run IRNA news agency reported, citing the Revolutionary Guard. They came after weeks of mounting tensions with the United States, as Trump ordered a buildup of American forces in the Middle East and threatened to strike Iran if its leadership does not agree to a deal on its nuclear program. On Friday, he made his most overt endorsement yet of regime change, saying it would be the best thing for Iran. The Pentagon has been building up an armada in the region, to use Trump's words. This is true. Remember we were talking about this, how a drone was destroyed. We talked about this last week. A drone was destroyed. There was, the United States defending itself. But then you look at a map and it was a giant fucking U.S. boat, right, parked right outside of Iran in Iranian waters, right? Or maybe not in Iranian waters, but just off the shore of Iranian waters. So, it's like we're not... It's not self-defense. We are there in attack mode. We are there. Oh, I might sneeze. I did it. Yay. So, the Pentagon has been building up an armada in the region, and that is at the center of a dozen warships in the region. It includes the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier, accompanied by 3 warships equipped with Tomahawk missiles. Thumbs up. So we also have warships in the Arabian Sea, the Persian Gulf, the Red Sea, and the Eastern Mediterranean Strait. The Iranian exercises come as another round of talks were set to begin in Geneva on Tuesday, with fundamental differences over Iran's nuclear program. I am in Geneva with real ideas to achieve a fair and equitable deal, Abbas Araghchi, Iran's foreign minister, said on X, Twitter, on Monday. What is not on the table is submission before threats. Smart, right? Analysts said they saw Iran's exercises as an effort to discourage the Americans. Exerting control over the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow 90-mile waterway that connects the Persian Gulf to the open ocean, which is a key shipping lane for oil and gas, could be meant to show that Iran will be willing to go so far as to close the strait if it needed leverage. The Islamic regime foremost wants to strengthen its deterrence and signal preparedness to disrupt shipping traffic. Farzin Nadimi, a fellow at the Washington Institute who specializes in the security of Iran in the Persian Gulf region, wrote in a WhatsApp message. I hate the WhatsApp thing. I want to believe reporting's different than this, but I guess it's not. Dystopian. The ultimate goal, he added, would be to show the Trump administration that Tehran can disrupt the flow of energy and force the price of oil and gasoline to rise at American gas stations. Now remember, we were talking about this before. We were talking about imperialism. And we were talking about how the United States does not need oil. We have an oil surplus. We don't actually need oil. But what we do need is for American oil companies to have access to oil so their value increases to support the fictitious capital market that we have created around it. And this is really the peak of what imperialism is. When we talk about imperialism being the exportation of finance capital around the globe, finance capital is an economic system where you are not using money to make a commodity and then trade it for more money. You are using money to magically become more money through a series of increasingly bizarre financial products offered by banks and market systems. And that is why the United States is so preoccupied with oil and Iran, right? We are in Iran with aircraft carriers parked outside of their borders talking about what's going to happen with this strait where oil is shipped, not even because we need oil, but because we have American oil companies who need the oil in order to post certain figures and numbers in order for the financial market to thrive in these weird products we have created that revolve around these oil companies being profitable or being wealthy or having assets. So this is the nature of imperialism. And this is when people don't understand imperialism and they're like, it's when a big country does trade. It's when a country goes to war. It's when a country has border disputes. No, those are totally different things. That's not imperialism. Imperialism is exactly what we're seeing happen here. It is the exportation of finance capital. Genuine question, did Iran really kill thousands of protesters during the recent protests? So the source we have on that is literally backed and paid for by the U.S. government. That is not or depending on your source, some sources were paid for by the Israeli government. People definitely died. People definitely died in those protests. But these claims you saw of these astronomically high numbers, they're not even rational, right? And one of the exercises we did in an earlier video, if you guys remember when we did a stream a couple weeks ago, we looked at the numbers that Israel gave and we looked at the numbers that the United States gave. And you could see the Israeli numbers were even more inflated than the American numbers. And that's because Israeli people have been bombarded with so much propaganda. They are even more propagandized than the United States. They can handle higher amounts of propaganda than the United States can. So the numbers they got were way higher. The numbers the Americans got were still high, but they were a little lower, right? Yeah, they're claiming things like 50,000 people died. That is insane. And for reference, they're trying to claim around the same amount of people died in Gaza. Like, it's not, it doesn't make sense. So definitely people died in these protests, in this uprising. But it's also worth remembering some elements of this protest were literally Mossad agents, Israeli US-backed forces trying to overthrow the government. There were also Marxist-Leninists, Marxists, leftists on the ground, right, who were like, maybe this is our chance to take this and harness this energy and turn it into a worker rebellion. I can tell you if that happened in the United States, our Marxist-Leninist parties might do the same thing. They might be like, let's harness this protest energy and turn it into something that will help us get what we want. But there's no way the numbers that we were seeing come out of those protests of tens of thousands of people died. It's not even mathematically possible given what was going on. And those numbers, again, come from heavily biased sources affiliated with Mossad, with the United States government. So as Cercito said, yes, people did definitely die, but the numbers are most likely inflated a lot. It's sad regardless. Iranians are dying. The U.S. government and Israel are taking advantage of death for a political agenda. It's just a big mess. Exactly. So let's take a look at this. Should the U.S. take military action against Iran? We'll take a look at that in a second, too. Al Jazeera maybe more likely to rule? No. No. You'll see the same bad numbers reported kind of everywhere. And I also want to say, there are people in Iran with left-wing politics who love their government. There are people in Iran with left-wing politics who hate their government. There are people in Iran with left-wing politics who love their government because they view their government as a protection against Western imperialism. And now, anybody with left-wing politics will tell you that the United States and Israel are not helping. They're not. So this idea that there are leftists in Iran who want Israel and the United States to show up, no. The leftists in Iran are saying, regardless of how we feel about our government, and they have varying ideas because they are people, they are not monolith, the leftists in Iran are not saying the United States or Israel will help the situation at all. So I think that that's important to note. Now, going back into this, Iranian officials invoke this threat to warn Washington that a war with Iran would have serious consequences for global energy markets. But even if Iran appears to be trying to ward off American pressure, things could tip over into escalation during a heightened crisis, he said. And closing the Strait of Hormuz without offering what he called a credible diplomatic off-ramp to address American concerns about Iran's nuclear and missile program would make the Iranian exercises bluster without leverage. There are no such apparent off-ramps on the table for the talks. Trump has three main demands for Iran: end its nuclear program, discard its enriched uranium stockpile, reduce the number and range of ballistic missiles, and end its support for militant groups across the region. This is basically them saying, stop helping Hamas. Just let Israel take over. That's what this is. This is about Israel. Senior U.S. officials are skeptical that Iran will agree to a deal that satisfies Trump's. I'm also skeptical. I don't think Iran's going to agree. If I was Iran, I wouldn't fucking agree to this. But also you have to recognize that means you're going to war with the United States. Iranian officials have said they're willing to discuss their nuclear program because they're facing serious threats to their existence because of the Trump administration's threats and domestic outrage over brutal crackdown on protests, which have killed thousands of Iranians. Let's see what source actually the New York Times is using. But the Iranian government has said they will not reduce uranium enrichment to zero or budge on America's other demands. Okay, so that makes sense to me. what's going on here, basically. Karl Marx Angel, May 31. We are basically what we did in Venezuela was a warning to other countries. Like, we're crazy. We'll do it. Call our bluff. We're going to show up and fucking overthrow you. Like, that was literally what we did. So Venezuela is like the head on the pike at the gates of our little world village. And we're saying, we'll do it, man. We'll do it. We don't give a fuck. Anything's on the table. Now, something interesting is that in the Epstein files, there's actually emails between Jeffrey Epstein and other people talking about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump saying explicitly, hey, anything's open for change. Iran, North Korea. So these emails lead us to believe that Donald Trump was telling people that he was interested in pursuing regime change in Iran and North Korea, two places that had previously been considered too messy or difficult to pull this off by former American presidents. And that's actually in the Epstein files. I can see if I can find that, actually, if you guys want. Is that worth me finding? Do you guys want to see those documents? Should I look? What do we think? Yes? Okay. All right. It might take a second. So, I think I have them screenshotted on my phone. Certainly. What the fuck was that loser's email? It's like GEE or something like that. I feel like if I search it in my phone, his emails, it'll pop up. Oh, yeah. GEE vacation. That's Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, yay. Anonymous gifting. Thank you. Okay, one of these documents showed up. Let me see if I can find the other one the same way. The one's just about North Korea, but I'll show you guys that one too. Why not? Okay. All right. So this first one I'm going to show you is just about North Korea. So this just tells you that, and this is what I'm trying to tell people, like, hating North Korea is not a left-wing political opinion. This is the Donald Trump opinion. So, and this is wild. David Stern, emailing Jeffrey Epstein in 2017, the first Trump administration, says, my senior Chinese friends tell me the top gave Trump the go-ahead to take on North Korea, no idea if it's real. But this means that Trump, we know, is interested in doing regime change in North Korea, right? So that's one of those. But that's just North Korea. So that doesn't tell us about Iran, which is our topic at hand. But it does relate into the document about Iran, which I will show you here, which is also from 2017, a few months before that. Jeffrey Epstein is emailing these guys. I looked them up. They're politics guys from Norway, maybe? So, I can't remember the country. You know, the place that does these letters. The white people place with these letters. And Jeffrey Epstein is telling these political ambassadors, hey, for your dinner tonight, it's with Donald Trump, we see this, there are no boundaries Trump will not cross. It's that simple. Recess, appointments, firing sessions, Iran, North Korea, State Department, all open for change. So this leads us to believe that Donald Trump was looking to do regime change in Iran and North Korea, and change around some staff in the State Department as well. So we see this in the Epstein files, right? That's something that's always been on Donald Trump's mind, is regime change in Iran. So now we're seeing what that one might actually look like, right? And so we have this document here. Trump says regime change would be the best thing from Iran. This is for 3 days ago. And remember, those emails were from 2017, from his first presidency. So he's been wanting this, right? So President Trump said on Friday that regime change in Iran would be the best thing that could happen, as he continued to threaten military action against the country. For 47 years, they've been talking, he told reporters after visiting troops at Fort Bragg. In the meantime, we've lost a lot of lives while they talk. I'm not really sure what he's referring to there. In recent weeks, Trump has called for new leadership in Iran, and the New York Times reported in January that he was mulling whether regime change would be a viable military option. So he's been wanting this since 2017, we know. But his last comments are perhaps Trump's most overt endorsement of regime change, even as U.S. officials concede that ousting Ayatollah Khamenei would be much more complex than the operation that captured Maduro, the leader of Venezuela. It's very interesting that they acknowledged that. Still, officials have said that Trump had not made a final decision and was considering a range of military options. The Trump administration has been steadily building up its military capabilities in the Middle East as Trump considers whether to strike the country again. Trump threatened last month to attack Iran if its government did not agree to a deal to curb its nuclear program. For now, Trump said he preferred to see whether his administration can make a deal with Iran over the nuclear program. And I wonder really why they're like, oh, we can't go all in. And it's got to just be that Iran has bigger weapons and is more willing to use them, or something to do with Israel, right? It's got to be something to do with Israel. Yeah, Leaf 1712. Why do we think it would be more difficult to oust Khamenei than Maduro? Yeah, I think that they have more going on with Yemen, that they have more going on with Israel, and I think that region, like, Venezuela is not engaging in ongoing warfare, right? They're not hyper-militarized. They were just, like, a country that wanted to be left the fuck alone. Iran's not like that. And this is what I mean, where we look at Iran and we look at Russia and we say, these places aren't our ideal internal governments, but hell if they're not fighting our battles for us. If you really wanted the United States to not show up somewhere and just take over, who would be the people who would realistically stop you? In the Middle East, it's Iran. Anywhere else in the world, it's Russia. And so that's true. So I think it's very hypocritical for liberals to critique, if they critique American foreign policy, which some of them don't, some of them just go for it. But the ones who critique American foreign policy and then turn around and demonize Iran and Russia, I'm like, how are you going to demonize the people who are fighting your battles for you then? Because they're the only ones standing in the way of the United States doing whatever the fuck it wants around the world, right? So Iran is much more militarized. And they're involved. They work with Yemen. They work with Hamas. They are fighting Israel. And I think that just adds further complications. It's not going to be an easy extraction, right? You're going to be looking at a prolonged war. The people of Iran have shown that they are not just going to sit back and let the United States government take over. In the past, look what happened. They staged a massive coup and they ousted the Americans, and it led to the hostage crisis, the Iran hostage crisis. That was a big political blunder for the American government for years and years and years. So where Venezuela were just people who wanted to be left alone, Iran, they're mad. They hate Americans, except for the very young people. But most Iranians hate Americans because of what we did to them for so long. And they are not shy about it. So I imagine that that's the complications. Iran would fight hard and fight back and fight big. And the population would not be subdued, right? Which is not to mean that the Venezuelan population is subdued necessarily, but they have less fighting power. They just have much less fighting power. Oh, Ramtin's X. Hi, much love from Iran. Hello, welcome. Maybe you can give some insight on how happy Iranians would be for the United States to take over again. I'm guessing not. But I'm sure there are some people who would. People have different political opinions everywhere. I don't blame Iranians for hating America either, especially not after what the Shah did there to those people. Oh, my mic is slightly louder on the right. I don't know how to fix that. I'm so sorry. Should I? Let's see. Maybe I can Oh, maybe this. Is this better? Does this make a difference? Is this better? Yes? Yes? Okay, thanks. Sorry, everybody. We got surround sound. It's a process. It's a process. We're learning. I'm so sorry. So you only have one earbud. Okay, good. And then you were getting the best experience. Over here we see Trump administration has been steadily building up its military capabilities in the Middle East as Trump considers whether to strike the country again. So this is all on the table for us, right? But we're trying to negotiate. So senior U.S. officials remain skeptical that Iranians will agree to a deal. I don't think they will. And this month, Omani officials mediated talks between Iran and a U.S. delegation that included Steve Witkoff, the U.S. Middle East envoy, and Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law. U.S. officials have said any deal with Iran needs to go beyond just its basic nuclear program and also address Iran's ballistic missiles and its support for militant groups across the Middle East. And again, this is Israel. Their support for Hamas against Israel. And Yemen, the Houthis, right, against Israel. Trump has been weighing a range of military actions, including targeting Iran's nuclear program and its ability to launch ballistic missiles. He's also considering sending American commandos to go after Iranian military targets, among other moves, the officials said. To prepare, the Pentagon has been building up an armada. This is what we were just talking about. Tons of aircraft and boats off of the shore. And on Thursday, the crew of a second aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, was told it would leave the Caribbean, where the ship joined the U.S. operation last month to seize Maduro, and deploy to the Middle East as part of Trump's pressure plan. Trump then said, we have to make a deal, otherwise it's going to be very traumatic, very traumatic. So, that is the update there. We do have the story from 2024 January 24th of 2026 about this as well. And this is a little outdated, but this is the beginning of the year. This is less than a month ago. And we're going to see kind of what the background is. This is Ayatollah Khomeini. Now, it can be confusing because there's been more than one Ayatollah Khomeini. So you'll see it, they're spelled differently. So this is a newer, we have different Ayatollahs, basically. Now, weeks after Israeli warplanes pounded Iran's capital last June, the country's top generals stood there in their socks at the entrance of a mosque in northern Tehran, mourning the man who had been killed in the strikes, leaders who they would now replace. The strikes had caused the greatest single blow to Iran's military in decades, wiping out the top leadership of the IRGC, the feared Praetorian Guard to the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Now the question was, how would this new generation of leaders, catapulted to the top, guide the country through a singularly challenging period, including growing economic stress, the prospect of new international sanctions, and regular threats of yet more military strikes from Trump and Israel. And again, their economy in Iran is bad right now. It's very, very bad. They also have been dealing with massive sanctions on a global stage. Yeah, Bernie Sanders is a Zionist. That's true. I don't like that. I hate that. And imagine trying to tell people in 2016 I don't fuck with Bernie Sanders because he's a Zionist. If I can survive that, I can survive the liberals on the internet getting mad at me about defending North Korea. So, yeah, this is wild though, but look at these men, and this is a major thing. I mean, Iran, regardless of your position on the Ayatollah, Iran has been fucked with by the United States for decades, and it's just insult to injury at this point. We're talking about Iran. Welcome. Hi. So the answer came in recent weeks when those new leaders responded to nationwide protests with breathtaking brutality, opening fire on unarmed protesters and massacring thousands of people. Again, I want to figure out where they're getting the numbers. At least one Iranian human rights groups based in the United States, again, these are U.S. numbers, confirmed 5,000 deaths, including 200 members of security forces. The first official death toll from Iran said 3,000 people had died. So people are dying. Iran is saying people are dying even. This 5,000 number, again, from the United States. So I'm more inclined to believe that if Iran is admitting 3,000 people died, it's probably politically irrelevant to them if it's 3,000 or 5,000. I'm inclined to believe their official death tolls on this. Oh, yes, you found it? You found it? The Zelensky comedy? Can you send it in the chat? Can you send the link and we'll look at it? Oh, okay. Thank you, Virgo. I appreciate that. Thank you for looking out for my pronouns. I also feel like, just generally speaking, if you can't do enough research to get somebody's pronouns right or use them after you've been told, you probably can't do enough research for us to care about your political input about the world. You know, like, you're probably not putting in the right amount of work to learn about politics either. They, them pronouns. They, them pronouns. And I understand not knowing because I present super feminine. And if you're, you know, I get it, making the mistake once. But then if somebody's like, oh, actually, these are the pronouns. And you're like, yeah, fuck it. I'm like, okay. All right, buddy. We can't take you seriously at that point, you know? Okay. So I'm inclined to believe this figure is probably correct. Having all pronouns in my TikTok bio up until probably like last year I changed it. Yeah. Maybe around a year ago. Yeah. But also, again, David, first of all, David still calls me Maddie, which is a nickname only my mother ever used for me. But David's known me since I was like a sophomore in high school. And also still uses she, her pronouns for me. And I don't think David's malicious, right? I think David is just a habit for David. And I'm like, okay, you know, that's fine. Like, I think there's like a thing where if you have something built in, like, I'm very chill about it. If you just don't know, I'm very chill about it. The things that really set me off, though, is like when you're explicitly told and you don't have a relationship with me and you just don't give a fuck. I'm like, girl, you can't do that. And the second thing I don't like is that a lot of times people will be eager to gender me as a woman, specifically to do misogyny. And I do not fuck with that. Like, that's not allowed. And it'll be that kind of misogyny that liberals in particular think they can get away with when they say white women do this. And it's just misogyny. This has nothing to do with whiteness. This is not a conversation about the intricacies of race. This is just a way you as a liberal found it socially acceptable to do misogyny. And that I don't let people do that either. So that's really the biggest issues. Red Pill David, when you share pronouns. You're so right. Oh, Pendleton blankets. Oh, favorite blankets. They're my favorite too. Apparently, I must be related to those people, but I don't know them. But I do have Pendleton blankets in my house too. To poor liberal white women is unfortunately a banger. That is very, very, very funny. Why does Aspen deliberately misgender you? Probably the same reason that when Aspen found out that I was gay, was like, Madeline must be in love with me. It's a conservative. It's a conservative person. That's a conservative person. That worked for the DHS. They're all the things are connected. The misgendering, the gay people scare me, the Department of Homeland Security background. Like that's a political agenda right there. Right. Yeah. Oof. Okay. So yeah, I'm inclined to think these numbers of 3,000 are probably around accurate. Again, just because I think that if the U.S. groups are reporting 5,000 and the Iranian officials are reporting 3,000, there doesn't appear to be much of a motivation to change the numbers. It's not particularly significant. Oh. So that would, be my guess there. How do you feel about girl, queen, dude, etc. gender? Like, I don't mind. That's fine with me, usually. I'm okay with all that. This has been a person who has an entire TikTok account dedicated to talking about North Korea, and the basis for their claimed expertise is that she went there on vacation once for 7 days 10 years ago. Her entire account is dedicated to North Korea, which is crazy to me. This would be like me making a TikTok entirely dedicated to, I don't even know, to any place I've been to for a week 10 years ago. Like Cancun? I don't know. It'd just be a crazy thing to do. It's an insane thing to do. And then eventually people figured out that there was not her only relationship with it. She actually went to a college affiliated with the Department of Homeland Security and worked for the Department of Homeland Security. That was her first job out of college. Her internship out of college was with the Department of Homeland Security. So she clearly has a political motivation to do this. It's very, very weird. And she makes a lot of videos about North Korea that are very, very strange and very pro-government. Just weird. TikTok about Minnesota, if you will. Just very, very weird. So 3K people died in the protests. Yeah, this is what Iran is reporting. And it is big. Those are high numbers. So that's why I'm inclined to believe it's not like they're like 2 people died and they both worked for us. If that was the case, you could be like, okay, that's probably not a reliable statistic. But to report that 3,000 people died, I have no reason to believe that would be a not correct number. Cercito, you'd get it if Aspen made a TikTok solely about her vacation in North Korea and didn't speak about politics. She's traveled a lot, so it makes sense if it was just a travel page, but it has to be political and ignorant. Exactly. And the whole account is about North Korea. It's not like it's about traveling everywhere. It's like, why this one place you went to once 10 years ago for 7 days? That's weird. And I always think about this for reference. I have spent more time in my life vacationing in Malta than that person has spent in North Korea. I cannot imagine what level of fucking psychosis I would have to be in. Sorry, I know that's not politically correct. What level of just delusion I would have to be in to make an entire TikTok account dedicated to Malta as though I was an expert on Malta. That would be like fucking batshit to me. Like that would be crazy. Yeah, it would make more sense if she had a page about China. Exactly. And she's also expecting us to believe that she's not affiliated with the U.S. government anymore. And I'm like, okay, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I just can't. That's a crazy thing to do. She only, spent 7 days there, and it makes her an authority on the subject. Yeah. It's very, very, very weird. I do love Malta. I'm so sorry. I love Malta. It's real fucking weird. It's a weird fucking place. I love it. I love it to death. Sorry, that's not politically correct. Girl, let those demons out. This chick is batshit crazy. Ah! Yeah, that's it.
And Spain. Yeah, it would be like me I would have more grounds to make an entire TikTok account called like Madeline in España, where I tell you stories about Spain, than that woman does to have an entire TikTok account about North Korea. And I would not do that because that's a crazy thing to do. It's absolutely crazy. Liberals falsely think getting into North Korea is some impossible task. They think her being there at all is enough credentials. Exactly, and that's what's so weird to me. It's also like other people have gone to North Korea many times and made it their whole life study. Like Bruce Cummings been to North Korea a number of times. Even like like these tour groups that go to North Korea. I actually was talking to my partner about this because when I go to China, I want to go to Dandong, which is the border town where they have the friendship bridge that was very, very important to defending North Korea from the Americans during the Korean War, and I really want to see that. So I was actually looking at this from, you guys know the Young Pioneer Tours and the Courier Tours are the two biggest tour groups that go there. I'm looking at this article. Hold on. I think it was a Young Pioneer Tour. Maybe. I'm looking. Okay, so this is actually about Dandong, living in what they're like the most dangerous place to live ever or whatever. But they also had, maybe it was Koryo. I can't find it. I will do that when I get there. I will kiss the bridge. Okay, well, I can't find it right now, but I was showing my partner actually because they've reopened since COVID lockdowns North Korea to tourism for Russia because they have really good tourism relationships with Russia and like student exchange programs and whatnot. So a Russian tour guide who's like, I've been to North Korea over 100 times, went to North Korea for the first time in years as part of their renewed tourism thing. And, oh, Circedo, when you went to China, you thought they'd search your electronics for foreign material. Turns out there are advertisements for VPNs for foreign in the airport. Yeah. I'm trying to go to China in August for my birthday. So whatever the case, okay, North Korea has been closed down for tourism because of COVID, and they just reopened, but just soft launching their tourism thing with Russia. So a Russian tour group that's been operating there a lot, one of the tour guys there is like, oh, I've been to North Korea over 100 times, this is my job, went and was like, the amount of progress I have seen since the last time I came, just since 2020 when it locked down, he's like, it's night and day. It's like they have developed so much in the past 6 years. This is a fully functioning modern city now. So if that level of rapid development could occur in 6 years, imagine how outdated any information you would even have about a place from a decade ago would be, right? That's not something that you would be able to know or see. And I have some mutuals on TikTok who are from China who live closer to the border, and they're like, yeah, we see the development of North Korea. 'Cause there's a narrow river, and you can see parts of North Korea just from the river walk on the side of China. And they're like, yeah, and a lot of that has to do with increased trade opportunities with China. So they're like, if we're developing in China and now we're doing trade and assisting North Korea, it makes sense that North Korea is going to start to rapidly develop and advance as well. So very, very interesting. So things are getting more advanced there, basically. Yeah, sneak me in. I want to go. I can't go with my stupid American passport. Okay, so we just put up for the podcast, we just put up a new bonus episode last night, and this Sunday we're going to start recording again. So David's mom is now moving through the treatment process, so we're a little more stable now with that and getting back to it. I'm so sorry again about that. All right, so back over on Iran. On the surface, the bloody crackdown affirmed the unity of Iran's ruling system, centered on the Ayatollah and the Revolutionary Guards, who estimate a number to be around 150,000, and its willingness to take ruthless action to ensure its survival. But Iran's experts say the bloody response was also a sign of the system's growing weakness, exposing the limits of Ayatollah Khamenei's 37-year rule as he wrestles with surging domestic unrest and intense foreign pressure at the same time. Taedong Tours? Yeah, but apparently one of the guys affiliated with them I hate on Twitter. And he's like, why'd you fucking follow Taedong Tours if you hate me so much? And I was like, I don't know, I didn't hate the tour company. Hate you, though. And he's like, I got them that. He's this really fucking annoying guy from Taiwan, who's always, like, misinterpreting Kim Il-sung. He's ACP affiliated. He's like, I'm not ACP, but he's like heavy ACP guy. I see, that's fucking weird. But I do think the tour group is cool, and I don't care how affiliated with it he is. The tour group is cool. It's cool that they're doing that. I think, and I told him this. I was like, man, I really fucking hate you, but defending actually existing socialism is more important than me fucking hating you. And I do hate that guy. So yeah, the podcast is more history based, and then I try to keep the Twitch more current events. So that's kind of how the breakdown goes. Okay, bye Virgo. Thank you for everything. How does ACP have so many connections? I don't even fucking know, dude. I think they're literally connected to the federal government from what I can tell. I don't know. If non-thinker 7 comes back, don't let them be rude. Okay, good. All right. Bye Virgo. Thank you. Ooh. Spooked up. That's how. I mean, hey, that's what people say. That's what people say. All right, so this is what's going on here. Also, though, do you guys remember when I did this video on TikTok where I was like, could you survive getting couped by the United States? And what really happens is these leaders in these countries are put in impossible positions where you know your country is trying to be overthrown by a foreign power, where the Mossad is like, yeah, we're out there on the streets, and maybe some of the protesters are organic protests, your people. But we know that regardless of the amount, the United States and Israel is using this as an opportunity to overthrow your government. So you have no option but to crack down. Like, what would you do in that situation? Where you have people protesting, but then you also have the United States and Israel being like, yep, we're there too, and we're coming for you, and we want regime change, we want you out. You have no choice but to brutally crack down on these protests, right? And it's an impossible situation for these people to be in, and it's part of the U.S. playbook. This is something we do. The libs were mad at the game video, were they? You saw Stitches? I have Stitches turned off, so I have to screen record it, so I don't even know. That's pretty funny. Yeah, so, you know, it's this impossible to win situation. So the International Crisis Group, I believe, is the ones who are reporting those numbers, and that's the America-based group. So Ali Vaez, the Iran project director, said the regime is ideologically bankrupt, economically at a dead end, and unable to rescue itself. And again, it's like, you could probably help the people of Iran more by just raising the sanctions, just ending the sanctions against them. That would help their economy. They'd be more stable. The people there would at least be able to get food and supplies they need to live and have a good life. And then if people there wanted to have a worker revolution for Iran, that's great, they can. But the United States getting involved is not going to help any of this. Buckfast Supernova, yes, I do know about this, and we can talk about this in a sec. Let me get through the Iran stuff, and then we'll do another Q&A at the end. I might have to put on a sweater. It's kind of cold in my house. So, all right. So Iran's like, we're not letting the United States overthrow our country, basically. This makes sense. There's huge history there. And we have these reports coming out, shoot to kill orders from the protests. As Iranian authorities imposed, this is back in January, so this is a month ago, January 14th, a near total communication blackout on a country convulsed by mass protest videos, and witness accounts slowly emerging suggest that the government is waging one of its deadliest crackdowns on unrest in more than a decade. Now, what's important to remember is that when this was happening, do you remember you saw those people who were like, I'm Iranian, here's what I think, I love the United States and Israel. They actually had an internet shut off in Iran. So those people you saw saying that, they didn't live in Iran. They were part of the Iranian diaspora, which obviously they have different opinions than the people in Iran. So that's a really important thing to note from when we were hearing all those people say that. Cold in California, aren't we famous for Mediterranean weather? Yes, which means that if it drops below 80, I'm freezing. And today it's raining outside and below 80. So I'm freezing. I'm dying. You should know that. Yeah, so this is kind of, they have rows of body bags imagery. We know that people were actually dying. We saw this. But a lot of the information we were receiving early on when this was happening was not from people in Iran. And now, obviously, they have internet access again. They can talk a little bit more. And there are some people in Iran who are like, we want the United States and Israel to come. There are some people who are like, what the fuck are you saying? We don't want that at all. Because it is a place full of humans, and humans have diverse political opinions and tastes, right? Which is why you can't just wait for the people in another country to tell you what to think, right? You remember a vid going around of a girl burning a picture of an Ayatollah. It turns out she was Canadian. Exactly. She was a Canadian Zionist, and there was a picture of her lighting her cigarette with a picture of, it was a video of her lighting her cigarette with a picture and burning a picture of the Ayatollah. Yeah, and people were like, Iranian women. And it's like, well, that woman lives in Canada. Like, that is not right. Hijabi Highway was looking at the numbers for Venezuela. They imported $2 billion in medicine in 2013. Then after the sanctions in 2018, they could only purchase 140 million. Same for food, 2.46 billion in 2018, but then 11 million in 2013. I'm guessing, right? It's insane, yeah. And this is what sanctions do. They destroy. It's economic warfare. It's economic warfare. So if we really wanted to help the people of Iran, the first thing we would do is end the sanctions, and we won't do that. We won't do that because that's not actually what we want. We want to be in charge of their oil again, just like we did when we overthrew Mossadegh. And this is the article. Trump says regime change would be the best thing for Iran. We talked about this. We already looked at this. And yeah, so that's kind of what has been going on there. So Donald Trump very clearly wants to do regime change on the entire planet. And he's just like on a warpath. He's like, let's fucking go. Which is wild because for a while, you guys remember he marketed himself as being the anti-war protest president. He was like, I'm not, that's a waste of money. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. But what's really happening is he's actually kind of living up to his words because he doesn't want a war, but a military invasion, a military overthrow, he's fine with. He just doesn't want people fighting back, which could explain why the situation in Iran's a little more difficult. These people would fight back and they would give us hell. Sanctions are 80% of the problems of Iranian people, yes. And the other problems they have, again, if people in Iran feel that they want more liberty in one area or another, that is something they can take upon themselves to deal with, right? Like we saw after the girls went on TikTok a couple of years ago, we're like, we want freedom to dress more Western. We want to not have to wear our hair covered if we don't want. The Iranian government responded by actually not enforcing the hair covering so much anymore. They were like, okay, we don't enforce that anymore then. So these are things that happen naturally within another country's sovereign borders that are not benefited by Western influence. Remember what you were fighting for. Oil and slave markets, Marcus Gamer Zero. Yes. So, okay. This wraps up the Iran thing. We could take a look at the new North Korea story thing, and it seems like some people will want to know more about North Korea. We could do another little mini North Korea, because I know we talk about North Korea so much. We could do a little mini North Korea talk based on this next news story that somebody recommended. If you guys want. Trump is going to keep this up until someone turns an aircraft carrier into a submarine. I think so too. Yeah, this man's not going to stop until somebody stops him. And I think it would be Russia, but again, we see they're in negotiations over Ukraine, so their hands are kind of tied at the moment. For Iran's history, I have a podcast episode I did about the history because my podcast is more history based, less current events. And it is the episode. The podcast is called "Pick Me Up, I'm Scared," and the episode is called "And I Ran So Far Away." That's it. So. Yeah. So let's do a little hop over to an update on North Korea since people have been asking some questions about it today, and I can answer more questions you guys have about North Korea, the things I know. So North Korea opens a housing district for families of its soldiers killed in the Russia-Ukraine war. Now, a lot of people are like, how can you support North Korea when they sent troops to help Russia? And first of all, they have a military alliance. Of course, they're going to do that. That's part of what it means to have a military alliance. But second of all, the people asking this question are not familiar with what's going on in Russia and Ukraine. They're not. And they have this very propagandized view of what's going on in Russia and Ukraine. And it's hard to talk to people when they're operating from that space, right? Where they think they know the truth. And the truth is that Russia bad, Ukraine perfect. And it's not the truth, right? The truth is messy. The truth is complicated. The truth is weird. So, you know, this is a very delicate situation to talk to liberals about. Very, very hard. And it really involves them getting like such a download of knowledge that they are going to be so resistant to on so many different fronts. On North Korea, on Russia. Two things that they are very, very like, about, right? Also, look at this outfit. This is a really good outfit. Somebody I follow on Twitter was like, North Korea, come on, man, I want to support you, but you don't have drip. Like, I think they have drip. I think this is drip. I think it's good. Yeah, let me do the pin link. Hold on. Sorry. Oh my god, it is so windy here. I hate the weather. Ah! Okay, this should be it. Okay. I think we look good. There's a video. So, is it a video or a slideshow? I'm gonna play it. We're gonna see what happens. Hold on.
Wait, really? No audio? Oh, I know what it is. Hold on. Hold on.
Daughter hugging people. Before daughter hugging people. North Korea says it completed a new housing district in Pyongyang for families of soldiers killed while fighting alongside Russian forces in Ukraine. Still images from Pyongyang's official Korean Central News Agency show Kim Jong-un and his daughter Kim Joo-ae at a ceremony on Sunday, with Kim Jong-un cutting a ribbon, and then both Kim and his daughter hugging people before handing out documents allocating apartments. It's the latest effort by leader Kim Jong-un to honor the war dead. State media photos show Kim Jong-un walking through the new street called Saepyeol Street and visiting the homes of some of the families. In recent months, North Korea has intensified propaganda glorifying troops deployed to fight in Russia's war against Ukraine.
Okay, so watching us on the plane to LA, talking about the weather feels like you did not pack correctly. You're going to be freezing. You're from Phoenix? Yes, this is true. Sorry. Go hit up the thrift. You're going to need some stuff. You lived in Culver City for 5 years around COVID. Every local was like me when it came to the weather. Yeah. When I go, so my partners from the Midwest, my LA partners from the Midwest, and sometimes we go out, it'll be like 60 degrees, and they'll be in a t-shirt, and I'm like, you put on a fucking sweater right now. You are embarrassing me. They're going to know you're not from here. Okay. Basically, some interesting things to pick up on here. First of all, the framing. Russia's war against Ukraine. They said that. I said Ukraine's war against Russia once in a video, and oh my god, I've never heard the end of it. People hate that I said that, but they don't understand how propagandizing it is to constantly call it Russia's war against Ukraine. Russia's war against Ukraine. Russia's war against Ukraine. Never mind the fact that it's not Russia's war against Ukraine, that Russia tried to negotiate a number of times with Ukraine, and Ukraine refused, and also tried to negotiate, Ukraine didn't even really refuse, with the United States about Ukraine, and we refused. So this idea that it's Russia's war against Ukraine, even though Ukraine and the United States, it's a proxy war between the United States and Russia very clearly, and, yeah, NATO, right? NATO, exactly. NATO's war on Russia. That's really what it is. These negotiation attempts were made a number of times. Russia did not want to go to war. And that appears not to fucking matter to these people. So we look at that. That's how it's framed. Now, let's take a look at the article that accompanies this. So this is from Seoul, South Korea, remember. So in Seoul, we already know we're getting a media bias. They can't say anything positive about the North, and they are also very propagandized. In Seoul, there are internet restrictions, for example, about what kinds of media they can consume about or from North Korea. Now, the housing in North Korea is free. That's important to note. It is free housing. Everybody gets housing, and you get assigned housing. Now, you'll see a lot of liberals talk about this thing called the Songbun system, which they're like, it's this caste system, blah, 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 blah. The Songbun system is something in North Korea, but it's not what liberals say it is. The Songbun system is actually a military-first policy, and that's to say that their national defense is the most important thing to them because the United States government is trying to wipe them off the face of the earth, right? And we know that. The United States government is still doing military operations there to this day, slaughtering citizens, etc. Now, or at least the last reported one that actually leaked was from 2019 when we did this. The Navy SEALs slaughtered a bunch of fishermen off the coast of North Korea when they were caught, basically, in a botched military action. So they have this Songbun policy there. What Songbun actually is military first. We take our national defense as the number one priority. Everything goes to that first, and that's because it keeps us alive. And that, I think, is very important to understand about the psychology of North Korea, and I think that they are rational to do so, as even Bruce Cummings, the weirdo guy, will tell you it's a rational position to take given their history. I live in Los Angeles. I live in Atwater Village in Los Angeles. So I think that, this whole situation with North Korea giving military service people housing, that's part of Songbun. They get access to new housing. So in order to honor the fallen soldiers, right, they're like, okay, your families get increased priority to new housing as a thank you for the sacrifice you've made to our country. So that's what's going on here. So everybody can get free housing, but it used to be, I really wish I could find this. I'm going to look one more time really fast for this blog post from the tour guide who goes there a lot.
Maybe I can find it in my history from yesterday. So I'm just going to browse really fast. Today's the 16th, so it would have been the 15th? Okay, here it is. I found it actually. So I think that let's read this blog to really contextualize how their housing allocation system works. I think it's a good blog post from this guy who's a Russian tour guide who has been, again, operating tours to North Korea for a really long time. It's really annoying when people say you're so far left, you've gone right about the Ukraine issue. Yeah, because ask Ukrainian leftists what they think about this issue. They will tell you that their government was stolen by a fascist far-right group infiltrated by neo-Nazis. There is no leftist way to support the current government of Ukraine. That is a right-wing fascist government that made socialists illegal there, right, and is honoring Nazis left and right. That is not a left-wing political government. It's not. But this is the thing, liberals' brains break. They hear Russia and they're like, anybody fighting Russia must be good. And you're like, girl, those are Nazis. Like, what are you fucking doing? And then if you say they're Nazis, they're like, that's Russian propaganda. Despite the fact that it's not just Russia saying that. The United States is saying that. Every Western media source in the world has been saying that, especially up until 2022. Gone so far left, you're right. I mean, they're invoking something called the horseshoe theory, which is a wildly debunked fascist conspiracy theory that says that the far right and the far left are exactly as bad. They're just the same. So really, you should just be a neoliberal capitalist. I mean, it's a fucking batshit crazy fake idea, and that's what they think. Yes, I also prefer fish hook theory, which means the center is just the right. So I want to read this blog post really fast. I think that, yeah, there's Banderites there. It's a Nazi bar. Yeah, it's wild. I want to read this blog post, though, about somebody's recent trip to Pyongyang. So this guy says, I've been working with Young Pioneer Tours since my first visit to North Korea back in May 2012, when I became the first Western tourist to re-enter the country via the Rason Special Economic Zone on February 13th, 2025. It was an especially meaningful moment for me. Sadly, the country's borders soon closed again, making North Korea the only nation in the world still sealed off since the pandemic. So they did shut down for tourism because of the pandemic. Through Young Pioneer Tours' involvement as official agents for the 18th Pyongyang International Film Festival in 2025, representing and facilitating film submissions from around the world, my business partner Justin Martell and I granted rare access to the capital. This marked my first return to Pyongyang since January 11th, 2020. Ironically, I was among the very last Western tourists to visit before the COVID-19 closure. Having now visited North Korea over 100 times, I noticed several fascinating changes and developments during this October 2025 visit. Here are my 5 key takeaways from the trip. Oh my god, all the gifted subs! Yay! Thank you, everybody! Wow, anonymous too. Haha, thank you, thank you. Yay! Thanks, guys. So, if you look at these, there's some white guys hanging out in North Korea doing white guy stuff. Okay, look at them go. Love it. Great. All right. So, number 1, a return to Pyongyang, a rare glimpse post-pandemic. We are effectively living through what could be described as the Cold War 2.0. This new geopolitical landscape has heavily influenced Pyongyang's stance on tourism. Currently, only Russian visitors are permitted into the country, while all other nationalities, including Chinese, remain excluded. Upon my arrival to Air Koryo on the 204 flight, I found that the immigrations and customs process remains largely unchanged. Immigration was quick and cordial, but customs, as always, depends on how you handle the officers and their inspection routine. One group boarded a retro Japanese bus I recognized from previous VIP delegations, and we drove into the city. I immediately noticed something very welcoming. The entire road from Pyongyang International Airport to the city had been newly repaved. A few minutes later, we passed through Hwasong District, Pyongyang's newest grand development, a striking modern addition that I will discuss later in this post. Audio? Can you hear me? You guys should be able to hear me, yeah? Yes, okay, good. Okay. So, checking into the Yangkado International Hotel, I was pleasantly surprised by its condition. Since the renovations completed in 2019, the hotel has been kept in excellent shape. Even more heartwarming was seeing familiar faces among the staff, many of whom I've known for years, greeting me with open arms and long handshakes. It was one of those rare, genuine moments where you realize how much time has passed, how much has changed, yet somehow connections will endure. Another thing that stood out was how smooth and freshly paved the roads were across much of Pyongyang, a level of urban renewal not seen since the opening of Reunification Street, now Rengang Street, back in 1992. And this is major. For the first time North Korea has officially decided that they might not be able to reunify with the South. And this is a big deal because for years and years and years they fought for reunification. The South also predominantly wanted reunification. But in recent years, the South has, as young people grow up, they less and less are interested in that. And the North has finally said, we might just have to view the South as a hostile entity. We might not be able to reunify with these people. And they might just have to be regarded as a separate country that's hostile from us. And this is a big policy shift. So the fact that they changed Reunification Street to Rangning Street is significant, and they've also included this in some of their federal documents. It's very, very sad. It's very depressing. They've just kind of had to be like, we might not ever get our country back, and these people want to go to war with us. They are hostile to us, which is true. And if you guys remember when the South Korean president tried to declare martial law, last year, and had to be impeached, he had been using North Korea, trying to provoke war with North Korea as justification to call for martial law in the South. And they are very, very hostile to the North there. And it is very, very sad. So this is significant. The Reunification Street is no longer called that. It is now Rangning Street. Around 2017, the marshal ordered Pyongyang's famous traffic girls off the streets. Have you guys seen this? The traffic girl is like a big part of North Korean culture. They're traffic monitors, see? And their outfits are so good. I love the outfits in North Korea as well, I will say. But most people in North Korea don't own private vehicles. They take bicycles almost everywhere, which was really funny. There was a story for a while that said women weren't allowed to ride bicycles in North Korea, which is insane because most people get around with public transit and bicycles, kind of like in Sweden or some shit like that. It would be crazy for women to not be allowed to ride bicycles, and very obviously there are, and there are pictures of it. So yes, these are the North Korean traffic girls that he's talking about. So around 2017, the marshal actually ordered them off the streets, citing concerns about their working conditions. They thought that maybe they weren't good working conditions for them to be in. But he said, to my surprise, they're now back in full force, proudly stationed at nearly every major intersection. Once considered more ceremonial than necessary, they now actually play a vital role. Private car ownership has skyrocketed, and traffic congestion is a genuine challenge. What used to be a 5-minute drive across the city can now take 30 to 45 minutes because of the traffic. Something that will definitely factor into future Young Pioneer Tour's itinerary once tourism resolves. Despite visiting at the end of October, when power shortages typically begin due to higher electricity demand, I experienced no power cuts whatsoever, even with new urban developments like Hwasong and Songhwa districts increasing demand on the grid. Pyongyang has evolved into a modern, dynamic city, more so than I ever anticipated, especially considering the years of isolation and the weight of ongoing sanctions. Number 2, the Pyongyang International Film Festival 2025. Now, a lot of the media you'll see about North Korea is that they're not allowed any foreign media to come into the country at all. That is not true. Not only do they have a famous international film festival, they also have their own version of Netflix. It's like an app, where it's a streaming app where you can view foreign media, right? They don't allow all foreign media in. There's a lot of, the example I always give is the Japanese anime that's real fucking weird about Korea. There's some Japanese anime that's like, and they should be grateful we colonized them, we civilized them. They don't let shit like that in, very fucking obviously. I wouldn't let that shit in either. Can you imagine if you were a native person and you had, for example, a reservation and the United States government was mad that you wouldn't let in videos that were like, you should be grateful we came here and civilized you. Like, of course you fucking wouldn't want that media to be shown to your children. That's fucking offensive. So they have shit like that. But a lot of foreign media is totally fine for them. Yeah, Diana North Korea said she brought Twilight movies into North Korea. Yeah, exactly. So they have this foreign film festival. That's a big deal. They've been doing it for years. So the 18th Pyongyang International Film Festival was the first to be held since 2019, and as someone who attended previous editions, I wasn't quite sure what to expect this time. Given North Korea's extended isolation, it was remarkable that the festival went ahead at all, and even more remarkable that Justin and I were among the small group of foreigners invited to attend. And remember, the isolation is not by North Korea's choice. That is the result of the blockade against them, right? That they don't choose to be this isolated. They choose to be self-sufficient. They don't choose to be this isolated. Our delegation consisted of around 50 guests, mostly Chinese and Russian, with a handful of other representing countries from around the world. Oh, he's Australian. I was the sole Australian representative, while Justin, originally from the United States, attended under his St. Kitts and Nevis citizenship, because you need a different citizenship, because you can't go unless you have citizenship somewhere else. The rest of our eclectic group included 1 Indian, 2 Greeks, 1 Italian, 1 Swiss, 1 Dane, and 1 Austrian. In total, over 300 films were submitted to the festival, with around 100 selected for screening. The event was hosted primarily at the Yangkado International Cinema, where both the opening and closing ceremonies took place. The opening ceremony was a spectacle in true DPRK fashion, grand, theatrical, immaculately choreographed. Proceedings began with an address by the Vice Premier of the Workers' Party of Korea, Kim Yong-hun, who officially opened the festival. What followed was a vibrant showcase of traditional Korean dance and song, enhanced by pyrotechnics, fog effects, synchronized lighting, and massive LED displays, a visual feast that rivaled any major film festival's opening night. The audience was a fascinating mix of embassy diplomats, local officials, filmmakers, and foreign delegates. In front of me sat the Russian embassy team, all of whom were fluent in English and eager to chat. To my left was the sole diplomat currently posted in Pyongyang from the Syrian embassy, who had remained stationed there throughout Syria's recent government transition. The atmosphere was unexpectedly warm and collegial, a rare environment for foreigners in North Korea to gather. The opening film was Red Silk, a Russian-Chinese co-production symbolizing strong cultural ties between Pyongyang and its closest allies. The following day, we were taken to a brand new cinema complex in Pyongyang's modern Hwasong district called the Juni Cinema, Vanguard Cinema. So again, also people were like, they're not communists. I'm like, they literally have a fucking Vanguard Cinema. I'm like, come on. The facility houses 4 state-of-the-art screening rooms equipped with modern projections, sound, and comfortable seating, rivaling any international cinema in developing countries. Here we attended the premiere of the new DPRK-produced feature film titled A Day and Night of Confrontation. And they have their own thriving film industry in DPRK. And if you're an American and you defect to North Korea, they usually will give you a job in the film industry where you act and you play an evil American, which I think is really cool and funny. Like, so if you're an American and you defect there, you'll be a movie star and you're always playing the bad guy. But, you know, not a bad life. It turned out to be one of the most surprising North Korean films I've ever seen. Oh, yeah, I'm so glad you're here. Power to the peeps forever. Hi. Yes, watch later. Thanks for coming. Unlike the typically restrained storytelling of previous DPRK productions, this film featured intense action sequences, psychological tension, and even scenes depicting murder and suffocation. Elements I never expected to witness in a North Korean cinematic release. The plot centered around a traitorous plot to assassinate the North Korean leadership, inspired by real events, which the film's introduction openly acknowledged. Despite its heavy themes, I found the movie thoroughly engaging, one of my favorite North Korean films to date for its production quality, pacing, and willingness to break convention. The Pyongyang International Film Festival is now set to return in 2026, marking a significant step in the country's slow cultural reopening. For filmmakers worldwide, it presents a rare opportunity to have your film screened to North Korean audiences, something few in the international film industry can claim. Number 3, exclusive access to Mount Myeongyang, and the International Friendship Exhibit. One of the true highlights of my visit to North Korea was once again being part of a milestone moment for Western visitors, becoming the first Westerner to visit the Mount Myeongyang region since the pandemic. Located roughly 2 hours north of Pyongyang along a quiet highway, this mountainous region has long been one of the country's most beautiful and historically significant areas. So again, when people are like, would you only go to Pyongyang? No, people who go to North Korea go to multiple different places in rural areas as well. Diana, North Korea on TikTok, lived in Pyongyang. Travel throughout the countryside all the time. People talk about this all the time. And like anywhere, obviously there is usually a wealth gap between the rural areas and the urban areas. But this is something that every country is constantly seeking to resolve. I mean, think about it here in the United States. Like, our rural poverty is so extreme. People don't have floors and they have giant holes in their roofs and are starving to death. So, very interesting. So this is a site of natural beauty. They basically built this building into the side of a mountain. This is a little less interesting to me, so I'm going to skip it, but it's a new tourist exhibit, and the committee there was saying to the tour guides, we look forward, to having you guys bring more tours here, and then they did some games, and everybody had fun together, and they were like, this is cute. And that evening, they checked into the Hang Seng Hotel, one of the finest hotels in the country. It's rated 5 North Korean stars, which by DPRK standards actually means something quite impressive. The hotel features spacious rooms, grand architecture, a pristine swimming pool, and a relaxing sauna complex. It's one of those rare properties in the country that feels like stepping into a luxurious time capsule of socialist design and 1980s grandeur. The aesthetic of North Korea is very 1960s to 1980s, and I think that's why I like it so much. Just outside the hotel grounds sits a small duck barbecue restaurant, famous among past travelers for serving what I still consider the best raw rainbow trout with chili sauce anywhere in the DPRK. It's a surprisingly delicate and flavorful dish that pairs well with an evening drink. Now, the new Hwasong district. So when we talk about how North Korea is rapidly developing, this is a great example of it. And this is why I'm like, I'm very curious to see what happens in North Korea in the next 30 years, right? If you have dual citizenship, you can go to the DPRK. Yeah, you should be able to. Yeah, that should be fine. So before visiting Pyongyang this year, I had seen countless photos and videos of the newly built Hwasong district. I had followed its 3 construction phases with fascination, watching this once empty area rise to one of the most ambitious urban projects in the country's history. But being there in person was something entirely different. It finally brought home just how seriously Pyongyang is pursuing modernization and how determined it is to project itself as a modern, forward-looking capital. In North Korea, housing is state-provided and rent-free. This is the part that I really wanted to read. Assigned by the government according to one's profession, social status, and family situation. So if you have a profession in the military, for example, you get priority because they have the military first thing. If you have children, then you're going to be prioritized to getting new housing for your family. Those kinds of things. So he goes on to say, over the years, I made friends in Pyongyang who were around my age, many of whom had married at the time, who were anxiously waiting for their chance to move into a new apartment. Back then, the waiting lists were long, and allocation could take years. Seeing Hwasong's glittering skyline rise before me with its 40,000 new-built apartments already occupied and another 10,000 currently under construction, I couldn't help but wonder how many of my friends might now be living there, finally enjoying a home of their own. And this is the new district. It's very pretty and nice. For anyone arriving in Pyongyang by air, Hwasong District is now the city's grand new welcome mat, a showcase of sleek, glass and steel apartment towers, manicured boulevards, and neatly arranged parks and plazas. The skyline is dominated by a cluster of tall residential buildings, the highest of which soars to 80 stories, making it the 4th tallest building in North Korea and one of the most striking features of the capital's evolving landscape. These structures, painted in pastel tones and fitted with LED lighting, stand in dramatic contrast to the austere Stalinist-style architecture that once defined Pyongyang. The lower levels of the apartment complexes are lined with cafes, restaurants, boutiques, car dealerships, and convenience stores. Small parks and playgrounds are interspersed between the towers, and at night the entire area glows with carefully designed light displays. Shops and restaurants remain open surprisingly late, often until 10 p.m. or even midnight, a reflection of the slowly evolving nightlife culture in Pyongyang. During our delegation visit, Justin and I decided to break away from the group to see more of Hwasong on our own. With the help of our interpreters, who used a local taxi hailing app, a North Korean Uber, we caught a taxi from the Yangkado International Hotel straight to Hwasong. Once dropped off, we had the district largely to ourselves. The streets were spotless, brightly lit, and impressively modern. Stalinist. So yeah, this is North Korean Uber, and this is what people say. They're like, they don't even have internet. It's like, well, they're trying to foster and develop their own internal businesses, and you can see they really are in an economic struggle point, right? They're trying to develop economically as their own country, and that's what Juche is really all about. It's not all about don't talk to anybody in the world. It's protect yourself and your development so you're not relying on other countries and other development to thrive. And that's what's happening. They have their own dating apps. They have their own food delivery. They have their own Uber Eats Postmates. They have their own actual Uber. They have all of these things on their smartphones, right? They are just not the American versions. They develop them on their own. One evening, we made our way to the Taedonggang Beer Bar, now relocated from Juche Tower to Hwasong District, one of the few venues in Pyongyang that stays open past midnight. The place is something of a legend among locals and expats alike, a lively spot where the hum of conversation mixes with the clinking of glasses filled with a freshly brewed Taedonggang beer. And that's their beer they make there locally. And you'll see people who like nightlife who go to North Korea always post pictures with this giant beer bottle. That's it. That's the bar. Juche. Everybody tells me I pronounce it wrong, no matter how I say it. I pronounce everything wrong. Is it true that North Korean society does not have a concept of homosexuality? You saw a gay defector say that? That is actually true. So they don't criminalize homosexuality, but they don't have any laws about it. And when asked about it, they're like, oh, we don't really have that here. Which we know obviously is not true. They do have gay people there. But what we know is that if you want a country to develop gay rights, what do? We allow them political and economic stability, and gay rights follow. And that's how that goes. So that is the stage they're at. They don't openly hate gay people, but they're like, oh, we just don't have that. It's just not here. So you're like, okay, you do. They're there. I know they're in there. But, you know, that's something, again, that's an internal thing that they will resolve on their own. Right? It's not something, we don't go bomb them for gay. The staff were exceptionally friendly and efficient, darting between tables with trays full of frothy pints and sizzling food. The menu was equally impressive. German sausages, Korean bar snacks, kimchi, and to my surprise and delight, Korean fried chicken. North Korea has caught on to the K-fried chicken craze. Crispy, juicy, perfectly seasoned, paired beautifully with a cold glass of Taedonggang No. 2. It's these small moments, sitting in a North Korean bar, sharing fried chicken and local beer with friends, that remind you how unexpected and human Pyongyang can be. On another evening, we asked our interpreters to take us to the best restaurant in the city. And after some discussion, they mentioned a venue located on a sky bridge connecting two buildings on either side of a wide pedestrian promenade. The restaurant, they told us, was Pyongyang's trendiest spots and required an advance reservation, something almost unheard of during previous visits to the country. Walking inside, we were greeted by smiling staff and immediately struck by the glass walkway beneath our feet, giving us a clear view of the boulevard below. The decor was elegant and international, a mix of Korean minimalism and modern cosmopolitan style. The menu surprised us even more. Alongside traditional Korean fare, it featured Japanese sushi, Italian pasta, pizza dishes, all beautifully presented. We ordered a mix of everything, but the highlight was undeniably the sushi, which turned out to be some of the best I've had anywhere. Fresh, balanced, and shockingly affordable at just $10 to $15 per plate. I remember all the news stories about how hamburgers and hot dogs are illegal in North Korea. It's like when you hear somebody's story like this, their account like this, and then you think about the media representation of North Korea, it's like you're talking about two totally fucking different places, right? This is crazy. They serve hamburgers at this restaurant. I've seen other people go to this restaurant and post about getting hamburgers there. It's absolutely fucking bizarre watching what the average American thinks about North Korea and then looking at people and be like, yeah, here was my trip to North Korea. It was cool. It's nice. It's developing. Good for them. I can't wait to see what they do next. Like a normal human being's reaction to a place. I think it's just very astounding to me how easily propagandized we are. By any means necessary, the next 30 years are going to show massive technological innovation coming out of Asia. As nations like the DPRK live under perpetual sanctions, they're able to develop useful, durable, practical tech that will be illegal to build in the West, thanks to the U.S. Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Yemen today is a global, illicit, open software tech hub, and the DPRK is poised to surpass what Yemen can do. It's very exciting reality for those of outside the West. Yes, exactly. I am so excited to see what North Korea is able to come up with, in the next few decades. And it is important to note that it is smart for countries to develop their own tech. It is smart for countries to protect their internet access from us, not just because of propaganda, which is a thing, but also, like, by any means necessary saying, to foster their own internal tech development. And that's really, really important. And that's what China did, that's what Nepal's been trying to do, and that's what North Korea's been doing as well. I wish communism was vegan burgers only. Ha ha ha. That'll be what I do. I force not communism onto all of you, but veganism. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is just a blog post, not really an article, but I'll link it. 1 second. BDFPCHKY. Do you have a search for DPRK denying homosexuality? When you try to track it down, all you can find was one commentary mirrored by KCNA Watch. Yeah, I saw it in one of their domestic media pieces, but I don't know which one, so I'd have to dig through it. Maybe I'll try to find it if I have time today after work. I'll try to find it for us to show in a different stream, because I think it would take me a while because I had to dig through it, and they were just like, oh, we just don't have that. It wasn't malicious or anything. They were just like, eh. But it could have been older, too, because I've been saying that for a while now, so, right? Flo and Florzen, what do you say about the claim that these tourist experiences are curated to make North Korea seem more normal? You hear that a lot when you bring it up. Well, I think the thing I would point to is, look at the Hwasong district, right? These are housing buildings. There are 40,000 occupied new apartments in this neighborhood. So, I don't know, they haven't had tourism for 6 years. So the idea that they would be building all of this for tourists that don't exist and not for the 40,000 people we know who just moved into that neighborhood, that's conspiratorial at that point, right? It was one article, not really sure if that makes an official position. The one you found was 2011. You know what? I should double check that. That's a good point. Oop. Yeah, it is an interesting way to mask racism, Kubashi, you're right. It is they're saying, the Asians aren't doing it for themselves, they're doing it for us, the Westerners. You're I think that they might actually just like to use the things they built. I don't know. Very, very interesting. So after dinner, we wandered further down the boulevard. We passed a car dealership showcasing electric vehicles, standard sedans, and even luxury cars like Lexus models. Nearby, a cyber cafe buzzed with young locals playing online games, while small shops offered imported snacks, fashion accessories, and electronics. The entire area felt alive. Not the Pyongyang I first encountered in 2012, but something entirely new. A city boldly stepping into the modern era. So this is why, too, when we talk about, okay, you haven't been there in 10 years, you don't fucking know what's happening then. Other countries, things develop very, very quickly. Under communist places, things develop very, very quickly. We can't fathom that here in the United States because our country seems to be regressing, not developing. Dookie butt. North Korea evil. How dare they eat sushi and play video games in North Korea? And it's really what these people think. Yeah, a country 20 years after a horrible famine that they're still recovering from. Exactly. For our third evening, we couldn't resist heading back to Hwasong District, this time to check out one of the new Korean barbecue restaurants that the locals have been raving about. From the moment we stepped inside, we were greeted by the warm aroma of grilled meat. What immediately caught my attention were the robot waiters gliding between tables, delivering dishes alongside their human comrades. A quirky but fascinating glimpse into North Korea's push for modernization and tech integration. The menu offered an impressive selection of meats, duck, lamb, and beef, all locally sourced, as well as several imported cuts, including some proudly labeled as being from Australia. A nice surprise for me to see so far from home. Despite the temptation, we decided to keep it local, and it didn't disappoint. The quality and tenderness of the meat were so genuinely impressive, cooked perfectly over the charcoal grill in true Korean style. The atmosphere was lively yet relaxed, with families, young couples, and small groups of friends enjoying their meals late into the evening. Oh, this is very pretty, isn't it? It looks beautiful. Of all the experiences and sites I've had the privilege of visiting in Pyongyang, from the new Hwasong district to the reopening of the International Friendship Exhibition, one thought kept crossing my mind. What will tourism look like when it finally returns to the DPRK? Communism is when my Twitch chat visits the DPRK together. Oh my god, guys, I would love that. We gotta get dual citizenship first, though. There's a sense of quiet anticipation in the air. According to what we've been hearing on the ground, the upcoming Ninth Party Congress, expected to take place either later this year or early next year, may include tourism as a key discussion point, potentially raising it to the attention of the Marshal himself. If that happens, it could mark the first real step towards reopening the country's borders to foreign visitors, something many of us have been waiting for years to see. Personally, I truly believe that the return of tourism to North Korea isn't just about travel. It's about rebuilding people-to-people connections and reviving a valuable avenue for cultural exchange and engagement. GoFundMe activated. We should get the people who do have passports that aren't in the United States in the chat, and we should make a GoFundMe, and we should promote it on Twitter and be like, send these communists to North Korea. And I bet we could get a lot of liberals and conservatives to donate. You can buy Turkish citizenship, really? Turkey's wild. How much is Turkish citizenship? Does anyone know? Yeah, if you make the GoFundMe, I'll promote it and say, send these communists to North Korea. That would be so funny. $400,000. Wow. Oh, that's so funny. Okay, wait. Check out this Portuguese guy who went to DPRK for a sports competition. It has a lot of videos and a lot more. Also, this article on his trip. I'm going to look at the article, too. Okay, hold on. Looking back over here. We don't have much more time left on the chat today. Do I think China was more successful than the USSR was? Yes, I do. And I think one of the biggest things is that after the Stalin era, the USSR failed to embody the spirit of revolution in their educational practices. And I think that was a major loss for the USSR. I think in China, young people are very politically literate. They understand that they are under communist leadership, but they also understand that they're not even in a state of socialism yet. But they understand that that doesn't mean that they're not communists. They understand that they're moving into socialism, and that's exciting. They understand what their revolution looks like, who they're fighting for, who their heroes are. Most of them will say Chairman Mao is one of their heroes. So I think that that level of political education and literacy in China continuing to go on past Mao has been very essential for them continuing to rally together around this. Uh-oh, flash flood warning. This is a dangerous and life-threatening situation for my area. Okay. Oh, I'm not leaving. Good to know. USSR invented satellites, put the first people in space. Modern China doesn't have a single development on par with the USSR yet. I mean, I think this is important to note by any means necessary, and why I also said after the Stalin era, because that was the Stalin era where they did that, and they really thrived in tech. And it was after the Stalin era that things kind of started to fall apart there, that they really did not hold it together as well. Khrushchev clearly, through his predecessor under the bus, did not inspire a feeling of national unity, of shared vision, of common goals. And I think that was really a big misstep that led to them not being able to maintain technological development on par in the post-Stalin era. Anyone in the chat from Hungary? China does have their own space station. Okay, interesting, yes. The CIA is flooding my neighborhood. They're controlling the weather, guys. CIA is controlling the weather. That's literally what liberals think we sound like. We're like, North Korea is not a bad place. It's a normal place that struggles greatly but does well. They're like, oh, where's your tinfoil hat? It's like, okay. All right. right, that's fine. Okay, anyway, so I think this is a really nice little article about somebody who, again, has been to North Korea 100 times and got to see all the development that happened over the past 6 years. And I think that that's something really cool that's going on. And that's why I say I'm very excited to see what North Korea does in the past couple decades, right? All right, let's take a look at this article. It's not letting me click off of it. Okay, but whatever. A Portuguese man in North Korea. How do I pronounce this? Joao. I don't know anything about Portuguese. Saw his country run and brought home a medal. Okay. So this is a 25-year-old who was in China traveling with friends when he learned that 200 spots had opened up for the Pyongyang 10-kilometer race, one of the few entry points into the country. He contacted Koryo Tours. So Koryo Tours is the other tour group. So the two big ones are Young Pioneer Tours and Koryo Tours. And this is Koryo Tours. And they go to lots of places, but they go to North Korea. They also, I believe, make films there, if I remember correctly. Film. Yes, okay. So they make these documentaries, Koryo, that I think are really, really interesting. Oh, hydrate. Okay, so I like these movies a lot. I've seen a few of them. Comrade Kim Goes Flying, The Game of Their Lives, A State of Mind, and they film these documentaries there. Crossing the Line is super interesting. This is the story of 4 U.S. soldiers who defected to North Korea during the Korean War. The main guy they interview is he's a kook and a half, man. He's a weird guy. But, you know, it's a really interesting documentary, nonetheless. I definitely recommend you watch these. Joanno. Like that? Yeah, Comrade Kim Goes Flying's awesome, right? She's so cute. Center Forward, this is about sports. Pyongyang's International Film Festival info, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I really like their documentaries they do as well. Here. So this is the tour group that this guy from Portugal went to on his trip with. So he paid 2,000 euros. He bought boarded a flight from Beijing to Pyongyang. He didn't tell his parents. That's funny. And he ran. There we go. It's so cool. So cool. I saw super clean streets, people shopping. Everything was normal. During the trip, the group of 200 foreigners was always accompanied by 10 North Korean guides who defined the daily activities in the places they visited. The mornings were reserved for running training, while the afternoons were dedicated to city tours. Many of the other participants seemed to be content creators, Instagrammers, or YouTubers who were there to film and make videos. He said, I would say more than 60 or 70% weren't runners. They just wanted to go. That's pretty interesting. He said he felt no fear or apprehension at any point during the trip, except perhaps a little when they confiscated his passport upon entering the country. When I landed, they just glanced at my phone and noted the make and the items we were carrying. In Europe, we have this idea that if you misbehave, you'll stay there and it's the end of the world, but it's not. North Korea is a deeply isolated country and little's known what happens in its borders. The government with roots in communism has remained under the control of a single dynasty. After the partition of the Korean Peninsula, Kim Il-sung took command of the country and the Workers' Party, being succeeded by his son, who would later be succeeded by his son, the current leader, Kim Jong-un. And again, this is simplified, but they at least presented a little better. The Workers' Party. These are the leaders of the Workers' Party. That part is true. In 2024, the UN denounced a deeply alarming scenario of misery, repression, fear, hunger, and hopelessness in North Korea, where watching a foreign television series can be punishable by death. And this is the image that this guy had before arriving in Pyongyang. But he was like, that's not what happened. And this is, we know, the UN is full of shit, right? They're liars. How can you watch these movies? I think I found one on Apple TV to rent. I think I found one of them there, and I found another one on YouTube. Yeah, we can't imagine loving our leaders because we hate our leaders because they're trying to kill us. And that's what's really wild. People are like, how can so many people approve of Xi Jinping in China? And I'm like, if I lived in China, I'd approve. Are you fucking kidding? I'm a chronic hater of politicians in the West. If my government was fucking building me houses that were $100 a month to rent, and my income was $18,000 a year, comparatively, and was building me high-speed trains and giving me heavily subsidized food and, like, $7 doctor visits, I'd be fucking loving my country too, right? They can't understand this. So yeah. And he says, what I saw was super normal, clean streets, people shopping in supermarkets, buying bread and fruit. I didn't see any homeless people, which I found interesting, yes, because housing is a human right. Tourist tours in North Korea are meticulously planned, aiming to showcase the country in its best light at pre-authorized locations according to international media. And he says perhaps it was all planned. I don't know if the country really exercises maximum control, but they clearly always knew where we were, especially since the North Korean guides told us what to do and we had to accept it. There was no plan B. They say the people there are very hungry, but I didn't see any of that. I can't say there is something I didn't see. He said the experience was calm as possible, but he said the trip was not normal. In other countries, you can photograph whatever you want. We were always accompanied, not free. But even if I don't agree with what happens there, as in my case, I know that when I go to another country, I have to respect and understand the people there. And that's true. They have changed to Firefox. Okay, maybe I will. And that's like really the thing. It's like you have to understand why this country is the way it is. They are at war. The United States is trying to destroy them. They are skeptical of every foreigner that enters the country because they have to be, right? First time chat, Chicken Nugget Noah, hi. They have to be. They have to be skeptical. So I think this is really the crux of it. When you go to another country, you just respect their culture and their customs, and it's not hard, right? Especially Americans, especially Westerners, especially Americans. And it's not hard to do. And what Diana, who lived in North Korea, says is actually you can take pictures of anything as long as it's not the military, because they consider that privacy for their own security and safety. They don't want you taking pictures of their military. So anywhere in military is you can't, but if they see you do it, they'll just take your phone and delete the pictures and give your phone back to you. What would happen to homeless people if they were waiting for housing to be provided, if this were to happen? I imagine they have a strong family culture in North Korea. I know that. They'd probably live with family, and if they didn't have family, they'd probably just live in some sort of community housing. Water fox. Okay, water fox. Joel. I can't pronounce anything. Joel. He said that the people there were very, very friendly. Even those who weren't guys were very friendly. I met a delegate at a stadium who showed me photos of his family and told me that he'd been to Portugal. He'd gone with his North Korean sports team in a competition. Oh my God. Danny North Korea is going to shit out of her eyeballs if she reads that. Wow. He'd been to Portugal? What? I had the idea that people there would be very cold and look at me like an invader, but we were very well received. I would talk about Portugal and they would always answer Ronaldo. That's all they knew. But where's Portugal, they would ask. I would explain that it was in Europe, but they didn't really know where that was. They said if they ever had the opportunity, they would come. I think that on a trip, it's always interesting to not only explore the country, but also talk to the people and explore the culture. He says the most important thing is that any traveler respect and understand that it's a different culture from the Portuguese one. I've never spoken ill of anything, although I disagree with much of what happens there. Respect is essential, not only in North Korea, but also in China or Italy or Spain. Exactly. And this is the thing. A lot of these Americans, it's like, have you never been to another fucking country, dude? Like, you just respect their cultures and customs. That's what you do. Like, I don't love that Spain has a king. I'm not showing up in Spain yelling, what the fuck's up with your king every time I walk around a town. That's fucking weird, you know? Even sometimes you encounter shit when you're traveling and you're like, oh, that's fucked up. Like I was in Granada and the guy working at the hotel was saying some fuck ass shit to me about people from Africa. And I just played ignorant, right? And I was just like, he was like, well, you know, certain types of people have been coming here more. And I was like, right, Americans. Yeah, I heard that. I heard you guys have a big problem with Americans. I knew what the fuck he was talking about because I understand people in Granada can be weird and racist towards people from North Africa. You know, I didn't fucking make it my point to try to do a cultural one-up in that moment. That's not the time or place. Like, if Spain wants to deal with their issues with racism, the Spanish people will deal with that, right? And that's something people don't get when they travel. And Americans don't get, especially if you haven't traveled around a lot. You have to, you have to push down your thoughts sometimes because you're in a different culture. You're in their space. And that doesn't mean that you can let people just be fucking horrible, right? Like, I wasn't going to be like, right, yeah, fuck the North Africans. You know, I was like, right, the Americans. You have to be tactful, right? But also, you're not going to teach these people any lessons that the people within their borders aren't going to teach themselves and push forward on their own, you know? I'm sure there is a Spanish version of Madeline Pendleton out there who can teach them that lesson way better than I can. That's not my point, my place when I'm now, right? And this is something I think people really don't get. Portugal for North Korea is a bit of a sore spot. In the last World Cup North Korea participated in, they got destroyed by the Portuguese. Okay, see? And they were still nice. They were still nice. So, it's not a normal trip, is it? I think the hardest part is making the decision and going because after the first day I felt calm. It's not about thinking twice, behaving well, and being respectful. Or it's about not thinking twice, behaving well, and being respectful. He says that he's already planning to return the next year. Right? So, yes. Interesting. All right. Well, it's 11:40, which means I've surpassed my time on here and I've got to go. Thank you guys for hanging out today when we talked about Iran and North Korea. We'll be back tomorrow with another double down on the news, talking about current events in the news and what is going on. And on Thursday, of course, we'll be doing Theory Thursday. And I'm thinking about Capital. Anybody we should raid before we go? What do you guys think? This is your first Twitch. Yay! I'm so glad you liked it. It's fun, right? We'll put Argentina up for discussion tomorrow. Lesbian hot sauce? Is that who we should raid? I like the name, so I'm going with it. Mean Girl Monday. What about Fuck Off Fridays? Okay, I'm doing lesbian hot sauce. Just based on the name alone. Is it working? Wahahaha. Let us go. Alright guys, rating.